special call education meeting at 4 o'clock. Go ahead and get started. I'll have the invitation. Lord, we are mindful of what we are here to do. Give us wisdom to do the right thing, to do always what is right in your sight. Help us as citizens be your children. Lord, we're always looking for your wisdom. Please give it to us. As we consider things here tonight, we are mindful of the welfare of the citizens of Sumner County. Lord, we're so grateful for the fact that we live in such a great country. As we go forward the rest of this night, may we be able to conduct ourselves in a manner that's pleasing in your sight, be able to do people's business, and put all selfish desires aside. We ask this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, first thing I'll do is call for approval of the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Next thing we're going to do is have recognition of the public. You'll have 5 minutes to speak for each citizen on the speaker sheet here. And before you speak, we're going to have everybody speak right here so that you are able to be seen by the owl at this point. And please state your name and address. First one I have is Costello.
Good afternoon. My name is Costello and I live in 119 Bluegrass Corner. I'm a sophomore at Station Camp High School. I carry a 4.0 GPA. I'm a sophomore president for Beta, a student council and FCA leader, while also being a varsity member of the cross country and track and field teams at SCHS. Last track season as a freshman, despite our lack of a proper facility to train and compete on, I was able to qualify for the sectional championships. I'm here today to argue in favor of approving the transfer of the stadium upgrade funds from our school system's reserve fund, and hopefully to put the rest to the idea that a proper competition track and field facility is not a want, but rather a need at SCHS. Over the last 21 years, the current asphalt surface we are forced to practice on has caused countless amounts of injuries, ranging from general soreness and shin splints to chronic knee issues, all the way to lower leg and foot stress factors. All of these issues affect what we are able to do at practice from day to day, limiting the amount of work necessarily to reach our full potential and hopefully someday compete at the collegiate level, like so many SCHS track and field athletes before me have dreamed of. On top of this, many injuries we cope with daily due to the lack of proper facility. The current surface is a general safety concern. On rainy days, while other student athletes around the mid-state can practice on the surface, we are forced to cancel practice due to the extreme slickness of the asphalt, as well as the flooding that reaches all the way out to Lake 3 in many places around the track. Also, for many of my teammates that hurdle, jump, and pole, they are unable to practice their event simply because it's not safe to do so at our current facility. Many times, those athletes must get to competitions at other schools with rubber surfaces an hour plus before the meet starts in order to get a quick practice in the event they are to compete in later that day. On top of the surface being unsafe, there are many places around our asphalt track that are eroding and cracking, which, if inspected by a safety professional, would be deemed unsafe for practice and competition. In spite of these glaring issues, our county still schedules 4 to 6 middle school track meets each season, also putting those students at risk of injury. To compound this issue, not giving those young track and field athletes the experience of legitimate track and field competition, many of these kids do not continue their track careers in high school. Many of these young athletes fall through the cracks rather than excelling at a sport that could help them pay for a higher education down the road. Station Camp High School is also home to the Sumner County Special Olympics, which I have been part of as a peer buddy since I was in the 6th grade. We look forward to hosting the event every year, but I must admit, it is an embarrassment to host such an important event on an eyesore that wraps around our football field. To make matters worse, if there is the slightest chance of inclement weather, the powers that be forced to cancel an event that those special needs kids look forward to every year due to safety concerns. And we all can agree that these kids deserve a venue that they and their parents can be proud of to compete at each year. So to conclude, it is my understanding that the timeline of some of these upgrades is an issue for many people on the commission. But I ask you, should we continue to wait for emergencies before we act to improve on our current facilities? That then sounds like our county is letting us down and falling further and further beside Wilson, Williamson, and Davidson, and other surrounding counties when it comes to issues in our schools. We are not asking for special treatment at SCHS. We are simply asking for this commission to put their differences aside and right a wrong that was created 21 years ago and then elected since 2001. We're simply asking you to do what is right and what is best for the community, both economically and for the better quality of life. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Next one. Stan Jones.
Bob, you may want to announce the next one so that person can be getting ready.
Okay. Next one is Emily Connor.
Thank you. I'm Stan Jones. I live at 1024 Heathrow Drive in Shackle Island. I would like to speak on the same topic that the previous gentleman just spoke. We have 3 sons who graduated from Beach High School in 2014, 2016, and 2019. Our oldest 2 sons played varsity baseball there. Our youngest son was valedictorian for Beach in 2019. We have been proud of our experience and blessed by our experience at Beach High School. It was our experience while on the part of the baseball program that the bleachers, the stadium seating at the Beach High School baseball stadium were the product of a donation of used seats from MTSU years ago. When we started with the program, those seats were dilapidated. During our time with the baseball program, we solicited contributions from families and private donors, our family being one of them. Our family paid from our savings and our budget to pay for and purchase and install stadium seating to the baseball field. The football field obviously has been in the same situation in disrepair for years, to the point where, as you know, this visitor side recently collapsed. One thing I also know about Beach High School is in its approximately 40 years of existence, it has not had a regulation track. There's no regulation size. It's near impossible to train on a track that is not regulation to know how to pace yourself when preparing for competition. As such, the track and field athletes have had to rely on facilities at Hendersonville High School and at Liberty Creek High School and at Station Camp High School, as bad as that track is in itself. I've had the honor and the privilege of coaching with the Beach High School track and field team for the past 2 years, coaching high jump, which I did in high school. I've done that on my own time and at my own expense. And it is frustrating to see students that have to leave their high school to go train at another high school and never have the benefit of a home field advantage. They never have the benefit of gate fees or concessions to benefit their team. Beach High School track and field has not had their own home for 40 years. And that has been by, I hate to use the term neglect, but it has just been not addressed and it's not been provided. We are, as a nation, we are in a national health care crisis with childhood obesity. And we need to do as a community and as a school system everything that we can to motivate and inspire young people to be involved in physical fitness, including aerobic activity on a regulation and proper track. We are not only in a national healthcare crisis, we are in a national security emergency. As we all know, we are potentially hours away from being involved in what might be a world war in the Middle East. Right now, our middle son serves in the U.S. military as one of the many veterans from Beach High School. He is in harm's way regularly. But right now, all branches of the United States military are not able to meet their recruitment goals, largely because American high school students are graduating and do not meet the physical fitness requirements to even enter the U.S. military to go into basic training. That is a national security crisis. We need to do everything we can as a county commission to ensure and motivate and inspire our young people to maintain a proper level of fitness. Our national security depends on it. We owe it to them. I would ask that this committee not be in a position to say that we can't or we won't. And I would ask the entire county commission not to be in a position to say we can't or we won't, but that we will. Thank you for your time and attention.
Coach, I know everything that everybody's saying is good, but we need to hold the applause because we're going to run way over if we don't. So if we could just please hold the applause. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Emily Goddard. I live at 245C South Leith Road in Portland, Tennessee. I live and work in Portland. I have 3 school-aged children who attend 3 different schools in 3 different cities within the Sumner County school system, and they all play sports. I work for the school system. I have worked in multiple schools across grade bands, coached track, collected money at school events, had the clock and scoreboard, official book, and attended events across the county and the state. But tonight, I'm wearing my Sumner County citizen hat. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me. Edgar Johnson helped liberate concentration camps during World War II. He could play multiple instruments by ear. He made homemade wine and built a replica World War II Jeep and a miniature version powered by Briggs and Stratton for his granddaughter. He loved his family, especially his wife Evelyn, and they loved their community. He taught and coached football at Portland High School. He was my neighbor for 26 years, and the Portland High School football stadium was named in his honor. I have fond memories of attending football games there as a child with my parents, who were retired Sumner County teachers, and watching the band, cheerleaders, and football team. Once I got into middle school and high school, I was excited to watch my friends and classmates do these things. Now I take my son. This stadium has had a long, full life and served the community well. It can continue to serve the community with a little rejuvenation until the new high school stadium on PHS's nearly 25-year-old campus is completed. I'm excited for all the school stadiums to receive the updates they deserve, as I know our county schools and athletic facilities all have stories similar to mine. As citizens of this county, we should all want what's best for students. We are a growing county and we need to manage that growth responsibly. I believe this is what the school board is trying to accomplish. No one could have known that the bleachers would have collapsed at Beach High School, which led to a closer inspection of all our facilities and learning that more work needed to be done. In the words of Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. The facility upgrades and improvements in phase 1 of this proposed project are better. They are better for the schools, the students, and communities of Sumner County. It also lays the groundwork for future growth and makes use of funds that are already available. The school board is simply asking to move its money from a savings account to a checking account, as I explained to my children. This is something they have already agreed on and voted to do. No one is asking to raise taxes, levy new taxes, or for anyone to give them money. We need to present positive intent, look for what we agree on, and stop hearing what others are not saying. We need to work together for the betterment of the county we live in and love. Members of the Education Committee, per the Sumner County Commission's standing rules as retrieved yesterday, Section 11, paragraph 2, part B, under purpose and duties, approximately 4 lines into the text. To study and convey to the Budget Committee any appropriation request for education and present the proposed budget for education funding. It seems pretty clear what should happen, and a meeting at 4 p.m. on a Friday in October seems unnecessary. I have faith that you all have studied the proposal, and now you need to convey the information to the Budget Committee. You know better, so do better. I think Coach Johnson would have one of the best facilities for the community too. Thank you.
Next person is Tracy Venan.
Good evening, my name is Tracy Venan. I live at 737 Shun Pike. And in speaking about the bleacher issue, the recent estimate did not include anything on White House High School. So I just heard this report August 22nd. I just want to remind everyone and just read about White House, what's needed, because it seems like there's some emergency needs there as well. So remove the far right section of the home side bleachers for use for the remainder of the year, the 2023 season, until realignment of the displaced concrete planks can be achieved. Cordon off the area to prevent spectators from accessing the space. So obviously it was deemed unsafe. So just want to make sure that the needs at White House are on your radar. So thank you so much.
Next person is Kevin Baker.
Kevin Baker. I hesitate to even say my address because everybody up here knows it. Most of the people back here don't know it, but it's good to see so many new faces. 424 ABWay Road. For 9 years I've been coming here, sometimes by myself. Where were all of you folks when we had issues back then? Where were all you folks when we had issues with pornography in our schools? Why weren't you here then? How about all of the other things that have happened over the last several years? Like, we've got Liberty Creek schools that were still not hooked up to sewers, and we're going to hire the same engineering firm to engineer that all these fixes for us. But I do appreciate y'all coming out here, because it would be nice to have some more support when we're talking about some of these other things, not just about schools or sports. We've got our priorities messed up, folks. We've got a large percentage of our third graders not reading at grade level. I never see this room filled with people complaining about that. I see everybody complaining about some bleachers, and yes, we need to repair the bleachers. But the fundamental problem here is that we've got an out-of-control school management system. They knew about the bleachers being out of control. There's a report by the engineering firm, but nobody will admit to it. Where was that? I heard some people talk about the travesties of, that we have to practice on asphalt and stuff. This process started back in May with the budget process. The budgets for the school system had a blank check of $20 million just for who knows what. You didn't know that we needed new tracks back then? Why couldn't you fit it in the process and gone through the process the way it should be done, in a transparent way? But no, this is the same kind of practice that we've seen for the last 8 years. All smoke and mirrors, and at the last minute the sky is falling, coming in here and holding a gun to the commissioner's head saying, you need to do this. And while we erode that $100 million that we got in the so-called savings account, it was fraudulently taken from us citizens, and yes, fraudulently. You're saying that that's a savings account? Well, what's going to happen when we need a new school in a couple of years? And your taxes have to go up because of that. Because we were not really fiscally responsible when it came to doing these things. Well, how do you start fiscal responsibilities? You start by planning. During the budget process, you go through all those things, you lay them out. and you prioritize the needs, and then you prioritize the wants. But instead of that, no, we have a I want everything now, and they call all you in here to basically pump up and force the county commission to do that. That's wrong. If we truly believe in what we want for our kids, we should be doing that week after week after week after week, including teaching them to read first and foremost. Okay? Those are the state numbers, not my numbers. Our kids don't read, but we're worried about scoreboards. Why? They won't be able to read what the numbers, they don't know how to do the math. The statistics don't lie, folks. Get up to speed with this stuff. We need everybody involved. Thank you, commissioners, and God bless you all. God bless Sumner County.
Hold comments down, please. Next one up is Paul Decker, and after that, Michael Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Paul Decker. I live at 134 Bellevue Drive in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm coming at you tonight from two different directions. First of all, I spent 37 years in the Sumner County school system. The last 25 years as principal at Hendersonville High School. It was a great experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And during my time at Hendersonville High School, when I first became principal in 1980, we were still paying off the debt from the football facility that was built in the mid-60s. And they built Ellis Middle School, it's called Ellis Middle School now with around it. And over the last 50 years, whatever improvements have been done in Hendersonville have been done mainly by people in the community, civic clubs, and we've had to rely on them. And in the last few years, the school system and the county commission has stepped up and started to do some things to try to promote not only facilities but other things within the school system, and I want to commend them for that. In the late 80s, we knew the visitor side at Hendersonville High School were in trouble. We had a structural engineer come in, looked at it, and said that felt like we needed some work to be done. But at that time, we couldn't get any support to do anything. So we went to some people in the community, and we had a company, Hardaway Construction out in Nashville, Paul Hardaway on that. They came out, dismantled the bleachers, set them in the parking lot, came back in, reinforced the bleachers, and put the stadium back together. And that was some 30 years ago. So it is time now for this county to step up and do some things for the safety and benefit of the people who come on the campus. Not just at Hendersonville High School, but at all these other schools too. The other part of this tonight is that I've sat in your seats. For 12 years I was on this commission, and for 11 years, Mr. Brown, I sit in your position as chairman of the Education Committee. The other year, I was chairman of the full commission, I sat up there. So I know and I realize the challenges that you have, because you're charged with the job of trying to protect people's money with their taxes. And you're also charged with trying to provide this county with the things that we need, the needs that we need, not extravagant, but the day-to-day operations and the day-to-day opportunities. So I encourage you tonight to seriously consider passing this on to the full commission so that it can be discussed at the full commission, and the full commission will have an opportunity to make a decision on what needs to be done. And again, I appreciate where you are. I know where you are, and I would hope that you would consider this and make a decision that will benefit not only the students in the school now, but for generations to come. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, next up, Beth Deering.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Michael Moore Sr., and I represent the fourth of 6 generations who live on my century farm at 645 Bunton Mill Road in the Clearview community. I rise to speak to you for just a moment today regarding the approval of and the necessary expenditure of funds to cover the impending removal of home bleachers at Edgar Johnson Stadium in Portland and the replacement of those bleachers and the installation of a working restroom facility at our stadium. As is the case with many of the athletic facilities in the county, and for those folks that are here today, the facilities in Portland have not been updated in a considerable amount of time, and as a result, ours must be replaced, along with facilities at Beach, Hendersonville, White House, and Gallatin. We are almost thankful that no one was hurt with the collapse at Beach High School or the potential other issues that might have arisen at our facilities. I am confident that the necessary steps are being taken to ensure these oversights are not repeated in the future. The anticipated creation of an on-campus facility at Portland High School as quickly as possible is an exciting development, especially when our facilities are compared to those at the newer schools, such as Liberty Creek. This change becomes even more necessary with the opportunity for additional participation in sports such as lacrosse and girls football just around the corner. These improvements are both desired and necessary. Today, I want to encourage you to take the necessary steps to both approve and begin the project at Portland, along with the other facilities as well, without further delay. In particular, we in Portland have an outstanding group of student athletes in the sophomore class at PHS. One of the very best collective groups to come through our school since the dominant period in the early 2000s when Portland won the state championship. Over the past seasons, they are 47-1 when they have been at the top of their age group. At ages 6, 9, and 11 in youth football, they were 32-1 and 3-time champions. In the 8th grade, they were undefeated and county champions. And as freshmen last season, they had an undefeated JV season. Additionally, the JV squad this year is 4-1. Those 2 losses I mentioned were combined 3 points. The next 2 seasons hold exciting potential for Portland, and the needed construction, if it's not undertaken very quickly, this exceptional group of student athletes may be unable to play a home game next season, perhaps even for the remainder of their high school careers. This would be a devastating development for these student athletes and a public embarrassment for our county. Also, it's quite embarrassing to have to tell our visitors from other communities that they must leave the stadium and go to the nearby school to use the restroom. Before the game, the announcer shares that the restrooms are closed tonight and apologizes for the inconvenience. But the result is the same, a disappointing experience. This is especially difficult for our older fans and practically impossible to those with mobility issues or physical challenges who must navigate a steep hill and crowded parking area just to get to the restroom. Our children deserve a home field to be proud of and the home field advantage that comes with it. They deserve a stadium to play in front of the fans and families and the community that supports them. Those folks supporting the student athletes deserve facilities that work and the opportunity not to miss their children's successes to complete a 10 or 15-minute hike to the restroom. As I listened to your last meeting, one gentleman remarked that he wanted to make one of the schools, Beach, I believe, a separate line item in the budget and to remove it from this project. To put one school's children ahead of all the others because of where they attend would be irresponsible. While they may be the most important ones to us, to you, the children of Portland, or any other city, must be no less important nor any more important than all those others. You must treat them equally. All of our children deserve that support from all of our county's residents. I'm confident in the very near future they can be equally proud of the facilities at all of their schools, just as the folks at our new school are of theirs. I urge you to approve the movement of those reserve funds immediately and to begin the necessary work to bring these projects to fruition. Thank you for your time.
Beth Berry, Charlie Haygood.
Good afternoon, I'm Beth hearing, I live at 701 Emily Drive in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Mr. Brown, you're my commissioner, and I emailed you a few times. I do want to thank all of you for calling the special meeting. You didn't have to do that. It's not lost on us that you did do that for our children. I will say, though, that as a parent of 4 students that attend Sumner County schools, I have 2 at TW Hunter and 2 at Beach High School, all of which are athletes. I can tell you why athletics are important, and it shouldn't be lost on anyone in this room. Athletics teach you responsibility, discipline, camaraderie, work ethic. And you want to know why we're all riled up? It's because it's about our children. Quite frankly, as parents, we are sick and tired of the commission and the Board of Education pointing fingers at one another instead of doing the right thing for our kids. And that is exactly what's happening through this process. No one, I haven't heard yet, say, we're going to do the right thing by the kids, because the right thing is the right thing no matter what. And integrity is when your words, your values, and your actions are in line. I would like to think that we're represented by people who have integrity within our county. And so for you to say that you care about kids, but you're busy pointing the finger wanting to know why it wasn't done before, I would like to know why it wasn't done before. That's a fantastic question, but it wasn't. And we can't change what didn't happen, but we can all change what we do going forward. So if we want to set a great example about what integrity is, we should set that by doing the right thing, by our words, our values, and our actions all being in alignment. I will say, when we moved from Robertson County to Sumner County, it was for the education for our kids. Sumner County provides a better education opportunity than most counties in Middle Tennessee. I'm very thankful for that. We do have the lowest tax basis in Middle Tennessee. I'm thankful for that. But I do want our kids to have the nicest facilities that they can have. If you look across the state of Tennessee, not just locally, but across the state, everything from Collierville to Farragut, their athletic facilities and their schools in general outpace ours. Wilson County alone, their oldest high school was built in 2003. They have proper facilities for every student in their high schools for athletics. So if you want to improve the student experience, and it's not just about the athlete, it's about the students who come to the games, I would encourage all of you, I've invited all of you actually to our football games so that you can experience Shackle Island Stadium for yourself. It'd be a great opportunity for you to see what the Shackle Island community is about, and you could go to Hendersonville and have the same experience. Portland, Gallatin, White House, Station Camp. We are communities that love and support one another, and we love to beat each other in football, but we love to come together for our kids. And that's why we're all here. That's why we are here today. We support our kids tremendously, and we ask that you do the same. Thank you.
Charlie Haygood, and afterwards Alison Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I thank you again, as Beth did, for setting up this meeting on Friday night. There was a lot of conspiracy theories going around why we had this meeting on a Friday night. And I've said to the people that maybe stated that I'm sure that this is the last place you guys probably want to be on a Friday night. I know I'd rather be going to the game right now myself, but appreciate you guys making this meeting happen, because we understand that this is a necessary step in a process. So thank you guys. Also, I want to thank those of you on the committee and others that came out to our facility last week. I invited you out, you came out, took a look. I appreciate the time that you spent getting to know our facility, our needs, and I would encourage you to do likewise with all the other facilities as well. I've been before you guys a few times now, so I think most of you, I don't have to, this is for you, not for the audience. I think you know where I stand. But for those of you that don't know, I'm asking, and our group's asking, and I think there's most of the people, not all, but most of the people here tonight are asking that we move forward with upgrading our athletic facilities. And as Beth mentioned, I'm all over the state with our football team as one of our announcers. And by the way, you're going to see a mass exodus here in a few minutes. A lot of parents headed to the football game in Hunter's Lane. But I'm all over the state and other states and I see the facilities that other programs and other school systems provide for their kids. And so I personally, and I don't think anyone here with me tonight are asking for anything out of the ordinary versus what we see in other counties and other school systems throughout the state. And as she mentioned, a couple of those as it relates to Wilson County. Now, the gentleman over here that spoke earlier about where have we been, I think that was a great comment, because we have been lax as citizens in holding our leaders, our elected leaders, and we think if we vote, which is 14% of the population, of the registered voters, unfortunately, we don't pay enough attention. We need to get more engaged, and we do need more accountability around these type of things. So I'm going to commit personally to be more involved as we move forward, and I think it's necessary. Also, I don't think it's education and pay for our students. Excuse me. Hopefully not. We're not paying. This is not no NIL deals that I'm aware of. But hopefully we're not having to balance education and pay for our staff versus athletics. It's not an or, it's an and. And I think with proper leadership, we can make all of those things happen. I'm not denying that we need a bit more emphasis on education and dig deeper into our kids' education. But I also know that athletics plays an incredible role in the life of our kids. And I think some of those cases that's been made thus far tonight have proven that. Again, we're asking that you move forward with the upgrading of all the facilities. I'm here tonight wearing a beach shirt. I just happen to wear beach clothes all the time. I think I look good in navy. I'm just kidding. But I'm here for all of these schools because we're all one community. We go to church together. We do life together. The parents are in clubs and organizations together. Many of us have employees that work in a cross-section of the community. So this is about everyone. This is not just about beach. This is about all the facilities and all of those represented here tonight. So, in closing, there's been enough rhetoric around this topic to last for 3 presidential elections. And I see the rhetoric out there, and by the way, I see it on all sides. I see some things from the population that makes my hair curl. What will I have? I mean, I just see some things said by all parties, elected officials, those that are appointed, those that are part of the community. To me, that's uncalled for. We all, in this room, need to put our feelings aside. Our feelings may be for others that have been appointed before us, and each other that are elected, and we need to move forward. Because if not, our kids are going to suffer as a result. So I implore you, for us to do that, and let's come together and let's figure this out. There's a lot of smart people in this room. There's a lot of people from the community that wants to be involved in this process as well. There's a lot of smart people that can work together and figure out a way to make this happen without sacrificing education and pay for our workers. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And we've got to get to a football game. We're going live on the air in just about 45 minutes. So thank you, guys.
Alison Turner, Brian Shot.
Hi, I'm Alison Turner. I live at 1294 Block 4 Road, Dallas, Tennessee, the home I grew up in. My family's been in this county for generations. My children attend Gallatin High School. They are athletes and scholars and band members. They participate in track and wrestling. They are active in our school. They have done track for the last, my daughter, for 4 years through the middle school and now high school. And I'll say I was negligent. It's my school. I should have been up there advocating every day for it to be fixed. But I know now, and I have been for 4 years, begging for this track to be fixed. It's not fair to our students. Our students are the most disadvantaged economically of any school in the county. We have the most diverse school. It's a great school. My kids love it. The student body is amazing. Our teachers are fabulous. Many of them are alumni, so they love this school. It's not about what our parents can do, or what our teachers can do, or what our administration can do. They need money, and our community gives money hand over fist to our school, and it is used by our quarterback and many of our clubs to do everything we can possibly do. But this track is not safe. It is not okay. It has not been okay for years, not 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I ran on it 35 years ago. It was fine then because we didn't know any better. It was good enough. It's not even close now. Every county, every meet that we go to, it's shameful. And it shouldn't be that way. We're the largest we're the largest school in the county, and we can't get decent facilities for our kids. My kids have to take the PSAT, which is a big test for them, in our athletic building, with a note that says, wear layers, because we don't have adequate heat or cool in that building, but that's where you're taking the test, because that's where we can accommodate it this year. That's not right. The school needs upgrades. It's 50 years old, it's time. So right now, we have an opportunity to take care of athletics. Let's do that. It's necessary for every school in this county. There are many business owners that are on the hook for buildings in Westmoreland, probably in Portland, in Gallatin, that they have funded and backed and have loans on. This county can do better. We should do better. And this isn't a 10-year thing. This was happening in 1980 when I was in school. In elementary school, we had 35 kids in an elementary class. This is an ongoing problem. Our county doesn't value education as much as they should. And yes, maybe I don't come to these meetings all the time, but I work for a PTO. I fundraise for my school. I've been a PTO president in 2 different schools. I've been on PTO as a board member. We fund so many things individually. Every student deserves equal opportunities. Track, in particular, allows kids, but there are a diverse number of kids, a large number of kids, and great opportunity for college scholarships through track. And we have some amazing athletes in Gallatin. But they don't have a place to practice without running, tripping, falling, getting scrapes and bruises. And the young man that spoke from Station Camp is right. That track is not appropriate. It is slick as it can be on a rainy day, and on a good day, it's still not great. It's not right that they don't have basic needs covered. I hope that you will support this. I look at this, I'm so sorry the bleachers failed, but thankfully it was at night, no one was injured, and it gives us an opportunity to do better. We have this money sitting there. It is in reserves. It has been taken care of and put aside for these types of things. It's time to move it over and use it. Let's use this money and get started on a program to build back better for all of our schools. It's time. Thank you very much.
Brian Balter Schott, Ruth F.
Good evening. My name is Brian Baltershot. My address is 1053 5 Coast Trace, Gallatin, Tennessee. I'm a sophomore at Station Camp High School. I've been in the cross-country and track and field program at Station Camp since I was in 6th grade. I am a 4.0 grade point average student and take great pride in competing for my school. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today in regards to transferring the stadium renovation money from the reserve fund to the Phase 1 project fund. According to a nationwide study conducted by the National Federation of High School Sports in 2021 to 2022, track and field is the most participated sport for girls and second only to football for boys across the country. Even though we do not have a track where I can properly practice, much less compete, I have become one of the top distance runners in the state. Last year as a freshman, I finished top 10 in the state in cross country and 4th at the track and field state championship in the 2-mile with a time of 11:08. I have dreams and aspirations of someday competing in the SEC, but the fact that I'm forced to train on a deteriorating surface not only limits the way I must train, but also puts me at risk for injury that could someday affect my ability to achieve those goals I've set for myself. Though I've been fortunate enough to have early success in my young career, no athlete in Sumner County should be at a significant disadvantage or severe risk at any point in their careers due to the lack of a proper athletic facility. I'm sure many of you on this commission have or have had children participate in football, basketball, softball, or soccer. So for 1 minute, I would ask you to imagine a few things. Imagine asking your son to run routes and pass a football in tennis shoes on the gym floor before playing their biggest rival on Friday night. Imagine asking your daughter to practice basketball outside on concrete in flip-flops, or even asking her to field ground balls in the parking lot. Imagine asking your son to practice soccer every day on a field with an uneven surface, littered with holes, and to possibly turn an ankle or tear an ACL. Finally, I would like for you to imagine your child playing for 4 years at their school without ever once having the opportunity to play a home game in front of their peers and family. While some of you may feel these are extreme examples, this is the reality for us track and field athletes at CHS. We compete in events that we have very little practice doing. While practicing on a surface with shoes we will not compete with, only able to wear the appropriate footwear when we compete. We are at a major disadvantage when we step out on the track to compete against schools in other counties with adequate facilities. On top of the safety concern, there will be a significant economic impact on Sumner County with revenue generated from hosting track and field events at SCHS. A competition-level track facility would open up the door for SCHS to host large subsectional, sectional, and state-level competitions. We are one of the few schools that has set the seating capacity to do so, and the appropriate staff in order to run the meet. Up until this point, the only reason we can't is because of the track service. These large meets would bring upwards of 30 to 40 teams to Sumner County. A 30-team track event would bring well over 1,000 students, along with their parents, who will frequent many of the local hotels and establishments. I want to close with this thought. For the last 21 years, track and field athletes at SHS have succeeded in the face of constant neglect from our county. I've been told about athletes like Brandon Byram and Whisper Thomas in the spring events, multiple 4x800 meter relay teams, and Evan Puckett in pole vault have gone on to win state championships, while countless others have gone on to receive athletic scholarships. A small part of me wonders how many other athletes have or will miss out on those same opportunities due to the lack of a proper place to train and compete. I ask this commission today to look out for the students first, rather than continue to argue over their difference of opinions. This facility isn't only about me or my dreams. I see this as a necessary upgrade for all students in the Station Camp community, whether it be PE class, general usage, or any student athlete. We all want to be proud of our Station Camp campus. Thank you.
Ruth Venan, Josh Graham.
Hello, my name is Ruth Venan, address 1049 DJ Way in Gallatin, Tennessee. First of all, as Kevin Bader said earlier, I want to thank everybody who is here today. It is really good to see a full house and people who care about their community. And it's good to see this kind of engagement. I will also state that I do support the damaged bleachers being taken care of, and based on what I've heard today, some restrooms need to be addressed and some tracks need to be addressed. I'm for that. That being said, as Kevin mentioned, where have all of the individuals who are concerned about it now been over the last decade while these facilities were allowed to deteriorate? It sounds like there were a few people who tried to raise their hands and their voices, but they were either ignored or dismissed. And why was that allowed to happen? Who was watching while millions of dollars were spent on a new school that goes above and beyond, while established schools were allowed to languish? This is just mind-boggling to me. How could this happen? I agree that there are things that need to be done, but if we do not look where things went wrong, we risk making these same mistakes in the future. So I have tried to be a watchman on the wall about issues. I spoke to the school board as far back as 2016 about their lack of fiscal responsibility, and it fell on deaf ears, and my comments have continued to fall on deaf ears. This county commission did not let these students down. Previous school administrations have. I believe that they have the financial resources available over the years to be addressing these deficits over the last decade or 2 decades, whatever, and did not. You don't wait until your house falls down around you to start making repairs. You repair a little bit here. There's an old saying, stitch in time saves 9. Well, right now we're looking at 9 stitches because we didn't pay attention to when we could do 1 stitch. That was a conscious decision by the administration and the school boards. I believe that this commission is going to do their best to balance immediate needs and work with the school board to prioritize financial resources. I empathize with students, parents, teachers who've been impacted by the neglect of the last many years, but taxpayers do not have the money to do everything immediately all at once. The school system has had 2 property tax increases in the recent years, and over 70% of every tax dollar goes to the schools. Where did that money go? Why wasn't any of it put toward upkeep, maintenance of bleachers and tracks and air conditioning units and roofs and restrooms? That's mind-boggling to me. Why was there not a plan to take care of these things in a timely manner? I believe we're here because of budgetary malfeasance by prior school administrations, and we are counting on the current commission and school board to be good stewards of the money that's being discussed now to address these issues. Please keep in mind, both on the commission side and school board side, that the tax money you're talking about comes from households of retired individuals, single parents, employed citizens, and others who work hard for every single dollar that gets taken in taxes. They are the sources of the dollars that we're talking about, and that source deserves respect and appreciation. It is not, we do not have the ability to just print it up. That money comes out of the pockets of somebody, and it's being taken with or without their consent, but it needs to be acknowledged and appreciated and respected. Those who want everything on the wants and needs list need to know that they're not going to get necessarily everything today, right now, but that's not the fault of this commission or even necessarily the fault of the current school board. They are all doing their best, but I am asking you to be respectful and prioritize, and shame on the people who let it get this bad. Thank you.
Josh Brown. Next up is Jay Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Josh Brown. I'm a 306 Wildcat Run in Gallatin, and I am also a school board member for District 9. I believe education should encompass the whole student. Are athletics an important part of the whole student? Yes. Are team sports beneficial? Absolutely. But athletics should never be our main concern, and this cataclysmic event has seemed to make us lose focus on our core objective, which is educating the whole student. I understand the immediate need to rebuild bleachers. I'm one of the 11 school board members who voted unanimously to approve moving $15.5 million from our reserve fund into our capital budget. I did so with the understanding that that's the amount it would take to rebuild stadiums that schools impacted from the report condemning their bleachers. Now, the list provided to this committee seems to go well beyond providing fans somewhere to sit. And I know it looks like the roof is blown off our house and we want to use insurance money to build a game room. As a school board member, I can tell you with utmost certainty that I will scrutinize every penny moving forward regarding these projects. After resolving the bleacher issue, I will not vote to approve any capital additions until I'm provided a strategic and comprehensive list of our needs. The first item on that list should be addressing our staffing shortage. We need to immediately find ways to attract and retain talent. Then we need to focus on existing facilities and upgrades, from HVA systems to the track in Gallatin and every department which has ever been told we simply don't have the resources. The time is now to give those concerns priority. I'm not against nice athletic complexes, but they should be part of a long-term strategic plan and not lumped into an emergency. Also, I don't think it's accurate to say we're depleting reserves for this project. Based on our meetings and what our CFO has provided us, I estimate we actually have about $90 million in reserves. So in my opinion, transferring this money does not put us at risk of coming back later and asking for additional funds for our maintenance of effort. I understand the hesitancy to release this money. I know you believe within our 11-member school board, there will likely be 7 members who approve any and all director recommended expenditures at all costs. Please rest assured, if you vote to move this money today, I will be the first to fight against poor girl spending and expenditures and make sure we invest in our needs before we wish for our wants. I know in the past our school board has made decisions which are considered not to be good stewardship of public funds, such as attempting to spend millions of dollars to renovate a barn, or paying a former director who took a job elsewhere $90,000 for consulting. But next year is another school board election, so there's definitely going to be a mandate of whether or not we as school board members are doing these things in the best interest of our students and the county. Because governing is balancing and prioritizing. No matter what you decide today, there will be citizens who are adamantly opposed to your opinion. Therefore, I recommend you vote your own convictions regarding this situation. If the money is transferred as requested, I pledge to do the same. I appreciate your consideration.
J. Ingram, ambulance is up next.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Jay Ingram. I live at 755B Newton Lane here in Gallatin. I'm an attorney on Square Gallatin, Phillips and Ingram. My wife and I raised our children here. My son Ben graduated from Gallatin High School back in 2020. My daughter is a senior at Gallatin High School. My mother taught in the Sumner County schools for about 30 years. She taught at the Gallatin Junior High School, later T.W. Hunter Middle School. My sister taught in the inner city schools of Washington, D.C., so public education has always been important to me. I don't think what we're talking about today is just about athletics. I think it's also about academics. We talk about a student athlete, they're student first. As far as where I've been the last 23 years since I moved back home is I've been on the quarterback club board. This is my second stint as our quarterback club president. I've been raising money. Our quarterback club board the last 23 years has raised millions of dollars and built a lot of facilities. I've also been involved in Green Oak Gala to raise money for academics and facilities at the school. And I think probably a lot of people in this room have done the same thing. They've been busy doing things, raising their children, and helping the schools. I would agree that there are clearly on the phase 1 and phase 2, there are things that are emergent issues. There are emergencies. I mean, when those bleachers caved in, a good friend of mine down at the beach sent me a text, said, I thought it was going to be Gallatin's bleachers that caved in, and it ended up being ours first. And we were blessed to finally get a new visitor site at Gallatin the same week the beaches caved in. But there's also urgent needs at all of these schools, and you've heard people talk about it. What have we done about these needs? I can tell you myself, there was a report done, I think under Benny Bill's superintendent back in 2011, and I didn't become aware of it until 2016. I went and met personally, privately, Dr. Dale Phillips and talked to him about it. That had him come and talk to our board at the quarterback club. He said, there's not the money to do it, we can't do it. And we said, well, that's not good enough. We're going to go to the press and we're going to bring it up. He said, if you do that, you get that stadium condemned, you'll be playing your games on Thursday or Saturday night at Station Camp Beach or Hendersonville. And we should have called his bluff, because I guarantee my friends from Beach and Hendersonville wouldn't have wanted us to play our games down their fields. And we would probably be in a new stadium right now, maybe even have a new high school if we would have done it. But our coaches and our principals didn't want us to have to play all our games on the road. So we were quiet, and we sat quiet for 7 years. And it is a miracle that nobody got killed in our stadium as bad as it was. There was things in that 2011 report that it said was supposed to be done in the next 6 to 12 months. That was 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we just fixed it today. And even in the new 2023 report, it says that the stuff at the Gallatin home side of the football stadium needs to be done by 2024. So I don't know what y'all think is an emergency, but we're talking about the government here and how long it takes to get stuff voted through and getting stuff ordered, supply chain ever since COVID. If we need something done by 2024, we better be getting on with it. So, I'm here to speak out for my friends at Beach and Hendersonville and Portland and White House, but also for Gallatin. It is the responsibility of the Sumner County Commission and the school board to do what is necessary to build and maintain facilities. Far too long, The parents, the booster clubs, and all these schools have been expected to build facilities and to maintain them. And that's not the way it ought to be. I don't understand why we've got a county as affluent and as wealthy as Sumner County, that you've got haves and have-nots in this county. It doesn't make any sense at all. How can that be? And if you're a business person and you're pro-business, you ought to be pro-public education, because where does your workforce come from? It's coming from your public schools. The other thing is, if we want to attract good corporate headquarters, white-collar jobs, what do they look at? How good is your school system? And are the kids of our employees going to be able to come in and go to public school? Are they going to pay $25,000, $30,000 per child to send them to private school? This system is only as strong as its weakest link. And I know that my alma mater, Galvin High School, sometimes is a whipping boy, and people talk like it's the worst school in the county. I'm here to tell you it's not. You know, I'm proud of Galvin High School. I put my 2 children up against anybody's kids in anywhere in this county. And I think part of the reason why they're as good as they are is because of the administrators, the coaches, the teachers at Galvin High School, and the kids that they're with. I think the county commission and this education committee has an opportunity to be a hero in this whole thing. You got the chance to be a hero and to do the right thing and to come in and fix some of this stuff. And all of us in here are taxpayers, regardless of where our kids go. My taxpayer dollars pay for Liberty Creek. My taxpayer dollars go into all the schools. So I look at, and the kids at Galvin look at these other schools where they go and play sports, and they say, why does their school look different than mine? Why does their gymnasium or their stadium look different than mine? And they don't understand the difference. And I really don't have a good answer for them. You know, Brown versus Board of Education talked about separate but equal is inherently unequal, but what about separate and unequal? That's really unequal. I mean, there's problems when you've got the county seat, high school, Gallatin, the largest school, the only 6A school, the most diverse school, the oldest football stadium, as much tradition and history as anybody, and anybody's saying, well, we're not going to worry about them. We're not going to take care of Gallatin High School. But it's not about Gallatin. It's about Westmoreland and Portland and Station Camp and Hendersonville and Beach and everybody. I think the taxpayers and the citizens of this county have been patient. I think we've been quietly fighting this fight for years and years and years. And a lot of stuff we've said over lunches and dinners and back rooms and everything has been ignored. But the people are tired of being patient. And, you know, the bottom line comes down to it. The attorney even says, y'all might want to fix this stuff because of liability. If somebody would have been killed at the beach, we'd be talking about a totally different thing. This isn't about, you know, your roof blew off and you're building a game room. This is about people's lives and people's safety. The other thing I'll say, and I'll close up with this, is you talk to any principal of any school, and they will tell you that sports are the front porch of the school. If your teams are good, your attendance is better, your behavior is better, your morale is better, the grades are better. Sometimes kids that might be trouble, they want to keep their grades up, and they want to attend school so they can stay eligible to play sports. And free public education in America is a great equalizer. It allows people to pull themselves up out of poverty. If you don't educate the people in America, you're going to incarcerate them down the road. I'm here to tell you, I do too much criminal defense and juvenile criminal defense, everything else. So the time for action is now in Sumner County. This is about academics, it's about athletics, and it's about saying we demand better, we deserve better. It galls me to see Williamson County and Wilson County and Robertson County having better facilities than we do. There's no reason for it. We got everything that Williamson County's got, plus a lake. I mean, come on, guys, let's get it together and let's do the right thing. Y'all can work together, take politics out of it, take your own egos out of it, and let's do the right thing for the citizens and taxpayers of Sumner County. Thank you.
My name is Andy.
Andy Lacey, then Charlene Allmiller.
My name is Andy Lacey. I live at 184 Bushes Lane. I'm currently on the school board. I actually voted for this $15.5 million. You know, when I voted on it, I felt that there was a need for bleachers. You know, people came to speak about the bleachers. There's a need, there's an immediate need that we need to repair and replace bleachers. And that's what I voted for. We didn't have quotes in front of us. We just knew that there was a need On hindsight, I wish that we would have had quotes that we could have looked at. And I did, I voted and supported the 15.5 million. I also believe that this issue has been weaponized. It's true, this has been turned into a political narrative. I've even seen one thing that got passed out at a couple different schools that's trying to get people registered to vote. I just don't like that. I just feel like that's very inappropriate. And if I had it to do over again, knowing what I know now, I would not have supported the 15.5 million. I would have been absolutely for repairing and fixing our bleachers. And then if we want to, as a county, wanted to invest in our tracks and different things, then let's look at that and add that into our budget. We just did a new budget a few months back. We've got $22 million in our capital budget. We can do anything as a school system that we want to do with that $22 million. We just spent $10 million on iPads for every 6th grader through 12th grade, and every teacher got an iPad. Like I said, I totally 100% believe in supporting our students. I believe that we should have nice things, but I believe that we should do this with decency and order. Also, if you know, the governor passed a law that all teachers by 2026 will need to be making a minimum of $50,000 a year. That will be a significant burden on the county for taxes. And you know, we have a lot of people that come to the board and they request different things. There's things that our schools are lacking all over the county. You know, for some reason, I believe it was Portland, one of the coaches at Portland for the robotic team. He has to donate his time as a coach because there's not funds to pay him a salary. And I believe they were like ranked really high. They went like they were pretty top in the nation. But he's donating his time, and he was kind of pleading his case that there should be a salary there, or some kind of incentive to reward him. There's tons of needs in our counties, tons of needs. And like I said, I just feel like this was weaponized, and it shouldn't have been. Like I said, I support getting bleachers. I believe our kids need tracks. Our county, like I said, has $22 million. The last couple of years, you know, we've had $35 million in our budget that we didn't use. And it got kind of rolled over into our fund balance. And then the next year, we had like $25 million left over. I believe we have money in our account right now that we don't even have to come to the county commission to do the repairs that we need. We are blessed with finances. We have a budget of around $340-something million as a school board. I believe that we can start the work, and as we get quotes to make these repairs and fix the bleachers, you know, then we can come to the county commission if we need to say, hey, we've used our funds, let's get this fixed. You know, and also there's a lot of roofs that leak in our county. You know, I don't think this is normal. I went to a school, I don't ever really remember having a leaky roof in the schools that I attended. We got HVAC units that need replaced. We've got kids that are going to school in portables. I don't know how many portables we have in this county, but we have a couple in my district. And also I've got some safety concerns that I've made known to the safety lady at our school, Mrs. Brown, and to Dr. Langford, that I would like to see addressed. You know, there's lots of needs, but what is the most important? And like I said, if I had to vote on this again, if it was sent back to me for $15.5 million, I would be a no vote. Because like I said, I would have liked to have the director present to us voting on bleachers, repairing and replacing the immediate need, and then we could have kind of casted a vision to see what we wanted to do next as a school board for our next budget year. Thank you.
Charlene Allmeller, and next, St. Brooks.
Hi, I'm Charlene Allmeller at 143 Grand Circle, Huntersville, Tennessee, 37075. I'd first like to address the question of where has everyone been, and remind all of you, which I know that you know, this is a republic, and that is a framework so that people can live their lives and delegate the authority to the elected officials. When you see this many people here, they don't like how you're doing that. Even if you believe the school administration engaged in neglect up till now, you have the chance right now to be superheroes. And I didn't even get that from the previous commenter. The capital budget that was approved in June. That does include roof repairs, that includes HVACs, and so you can't spend the same dollar on two things. It's going to go to the HVACs and the roof repairs. This money is not coming from anyone's pocket, as somebody has spoken about before. This is in a bank account right now that can only be used for schools. In 2016, each high school started getting an allocation to use for athletics. Gallatin saved up their amount for several years in order to repair or replace some of their bleachers. And that is probably why they're not on this list as what people would consider as a condemned area. But like somebody had said, the home site will be unstable by 2024. In my view, the collapse of the bleachers at Beach basically made the bleachers unusable, which is just like the tracks. Before now, the schools have been berated for every penny that they spend. And so I ask you, would you have approved $15 million for bleachers and tracks last budget cycle? And if you would have, then why aren't you now? And if you wouldn't have, then I wouldn't ask the question as to why they weren't maintained before, because then you just need to look in the mirror. That's why they weren't. I love that the athletics interest groups in this town are coming together and they're taking the team spirit from the field and they're bringing it out here and they're working together. If there is, and I do just want to point out, if there is anyone injured on any of the tracks, there is no way that the schools or this county could say that they didn't know, because you had two stellar students come up here and talk to you about the tracks. So I would appreciate it if you would consider passing on this budget amendment to the budget committee and then going to the full commission so that this can be considered by all the commissioners. If there's this many people here right now, it is worthy of that. Thank you.
Okay, Brooks.
My name is Kay Brooks. I live at 123 Trousdale in Hendersonville. The reality is the economy is really bad. I have to focus on needs right now. So do most of us. That means so do the Sumner County Schools and the Sumner County Commission. It's outrageous for Sumner County Schools to even think that they can spend tax money on anything but essentials right now. Essentials mean education and safety. And I'm not talking about making spectators comfortable. Clearly, with more than $100 million in savings, the Board of Education has deeper financial pockets than I do. How dare they present me with this wish list when they have no idea what other emergencies may come up during this exceptional economy? How do I know they don't know? Sumner County Schools ignored a previous report saying bleachers needed attention. Where is that report, by the way? What other reports are there for me? What other reports are they ignoring or have failed to even request? No. Protect the reserve for the unknown and protect our homes from tax increases we cannot afford. Thank you. Hold the line.
I'm Tim Jones. My address is 112 Georgetown Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I represent the 23rd District, that is the Beach High School and Hendersonville High School zones. My district's kind of split. A little bit about me. I graduated from Beach High School in 1989, but I raised my kids. School zones have shifted, and they have the grandmother was a teacher at Henderson High School, so we're able to go out of zones to Hendersonville, and the school zones were mixing up several times during those years, so we found one and stuck with it. My son played football for Henderson High School. My other son wrestled for Henderson High School. Both of them were exceptional athletes there. I probably put more sweat equity into that stadium at Henderson High School than most parents. So I was very discouraged to hear the comments made on social media, on announced from the press box during a Friday night football game, seeing flyers handed out to students that basically the narrative that we as commissioners don't care about kids' sports. That can be further from the truth. There's probably not many people that care more. I coached Little League sports all the way up until my kids got into school sports. So I very disheartened to see what's going on with social media. There's not a person up here that doesn't want to fix these bleachers. Every single one of them want to fix these bleachers 3 weeks ago. Ready to do it 3 weeks ago. I've got friends on both sides of this argument. I see the wants, and some could argue that there are needs, and I don't concede some of those as needs because of the lack of equity with other schools. Tracks, things like that, they're important. But there's also a lot going on with regards to money that has been allocated to school budgets that's turned in at the end of every year and put in reserves, tens of millions of dollars. Look into that. Why is that so? Why aren't these things being hammered out as capital projects every year? Why have they not been kept up with? Why are all these things lacking? Ask your school administrators that. Ask your school board that. All of these things could have been done a little bit at a time along the way to not break taxpayers when it comes time to raise property taxes. That's what I'm going to be about. I was elected on the promise of not pushing for tax increases when they're not needed. Growth needs to pay for itself. The longtime citizens have lived here. I've lived here for 48 years in Sumner County. Almost born and raised here, but the longtime citizens that have lived here are looking at another tax increase. You have 11,000 building permits in Gallatin right now. New school system. You got 1,200 homes getting ready to drop on a farm in Westmore. New school. Where's all this money going to come from? It's a good thing we got a lot of reserves piled up, because otherwise we're doing loans and we're raising taxes. I hope we can get all the things that were mentioned here tonight. I hope all the students can get the things that they asked for. But it needs to be done in chunks and budgeted and start hammering it out. I hope we can get there. I'm for all of that stuff. But the leverage that's been placed on this emergency is ridiculous. There's been a window talks about that if we don't get in the queue to fix these stadiums, we're going to miss getting them fixed by the time that they start. Because the bleacher companies, all of them seem to do it the same way. And I understand you got to get in the queue to be on the schedule. Why are we holding this hostage? Let's get in the queue. Let's approve budgets to get the bleachers fixed, which we all agree on, and then keep talking about this other stuff and figure out a way to do it. But the emergency stuff needs to be the emergency stuff. The needs that are 20, 30, 40 years long, some people have argued, are legit, but they're in a different category. Let's be honest, they're in a different category. They're needs, but they're not emergency needs. So let's continue that discussion and get these bleachers fixed. Thank you.
That closes all the public recognition comments. Chairman's report. I'm going to save my report for wherever we get to the discussion of the emergent issue of these fatal bleachers. When we get to old business. County Mayor, do you have a report?
No report.
Portion of Director of Schools?
Yes, sir. And I promise everybody we're not going to go through 54 slides. I promise you that. All right. I wanted to start just first off by thanking the committee for calling this special meeting. I know anytime we process things politically in the county, democratically, this is our process. There are pain points, there's difficulties, people get rubbed wrong. But I appreciate y'all. I know it's tough to sit in that seat, and I thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share. I'll own all responsibility for anything that has set us back. I apologize. I thought I brought the information the first time on October 2nd. You didn't get the information you needed, so we stepped back and we tried since then to get you the information you needed. I've tried to provide it as quickly as I have it, but obviously, moving from mid-August to today, there are a lot of moving parts, and we need to move fast, but we also want to get things right and do them in a way that saves us the most taxpayer dollars while providing the very best bleachers, the very best athletic facilities that are handicap accessible, athletic training rooms, the things that are real needs for each of our schools. So I wanted to take just a minute. Again, let me just reiterate, I'll accept all responsibility for every step of this process. We can, I think if you talk to anyone that experienced, and I'm not talking about the last 10, 12 years, I'm talking about the last 40 or 50 years, I think directors that came, superintendents that came previously, did the very best they could with what they had. Sometimes they were trying to get boilers, or air conditioners, or roofs, or things like that. And athletic facilities were a luxury item back in the 70s and 80s. And I think, the prophet Jeremiah said that there would be a day where the word or the law was written not on tablets of stone, but on human hearts. And I think that's what arouses so much sentiment and passion among our people and our parents that are here tonight. Because sports are so much more than just games. Stadiums are more than cement and steel. They reflect the work of 2 to 3 generations, especially the way that we've done them in Sumner County. In my life, I've had the opportunity to see Hendersonville. Mr. Decker already mentioned those. I was there in the 70s as a small child. When Beach opened in 1980, they had no facilities. Everything there was built by the community. I was in White House as a student and as a teacher and a coach, and almost everything there was built by the city of White House or by the community. Portland's story is the same. Westmoreland. Really the only 2 schools that we've ever built in Sumner County with any athletic facilities, Station Camp and Liberty Creek. And that's because when Station Camp came around, I'm sure Mr. Hyde will tell you that they had learned from building previous schools and knew that they needed to try to provide those schools to give the kids the best opportunities they could and to not put that burden on the local community. And I also want to thank everybody for being here tonight, because I think what we saw, I remember standing, Mr. Powell texted me at about 5:30 in the morning the day that the bleachers fell on the visitor side. And he and I, Coach Crabtree, was up and stood out there for 15, 20 minutes and were relatively speechless, trying to figure out what we were going to do. And I have to say, from that moment on, the Beach community rallied. They showed the same resistance, resilience, grit, and toughness. When we had the structural engineer go around and look at all the other bleachers in the county, the same thing happened at Hendersonville, Portland, and White House. Those communities stepped up. And in the past, what we've done is we've then left the communities to resolve those problems. And I really want to encourage us to try to work together. I'll do whatever I need to do to answer your questions and give you the information that you want. But I don't want us to fall back into the past 50 years pattern, which is we turn all that back over to the local community to raise money. It's harder and harder to raise money. I no longer feel confident having cement structured football stadiums. I would like to get out of the cement business, and I'd like to build aluminum and steel structures that we never, if any of us serve in the commission for the next 50 years, we've still got bleachers that are standing. Let's take it off the table and solve the issue and give our kids the very best. And I think, just to wrap up, what we began doing on September 7th is we got a group of people together from each school community except Liberty Creek, and we had the principal, the athletic director, the head football coach, the head track or cross-country coach, and 3 to 5 supporters and parents from each school. And they sat there and they answered the questions, what's most important for our community? We took that information and shared it with our architects so that they could begin looking at things and trying to get quotes. I want to run through just a couple of things before we go into the process, and I'll go really quickly through this. But I find when we have these opportunities, it's good to understand what's happened in the past. So this stretches across, 3, 4 different commissions. This is what we've done in terms of new school construction. As several speakers have mentioned, we've experienced tremendous growth. This year, I think, is the first year in 22 years that we haven't had growth. We dipped a little bit. We're down about 200, 300 students from previous years. Those are the new schools that we built since 2000, or that we've opened since 2016. Barnes started in 2013, I believe, but opened in 2016. You can see also, if you look below, it's a comparison to other school districts. You can see that the schools that we built are roughly on track or a little less expensive than what's being built in other districts. You'll also notice that because you can tell when the construction prices went way up, It's White House Intermediate, it's one of our smaller elementary schools. And it was also one of the more expensive because between 2019 and 2022, construction costs went up astronomically high. All right, in terms of school renovations and additions, there are more projects on here. This is $66.8 million. There were about another $6 or $7 million in projects, but they weren't large capital projects. They were fixing things like paving and stuff like that. So you can see most of the schools in the county received some renovation and addition. And again, that stretches back previous generations. I would say, I don't know, probably from the 50s until the mid-2000s, had to rob Peter and pay Paul and do whatever they could to keep school open and to keep buses running and to keep teachers paid. So we had the opportunity to invest in schools and do renovations, and we did that all across the county. All right, we also began about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, giving money to the high school, and I wanted to share with you, and I'm not going to spend much time, but you'll have this presentation, and it will be online shortly for everybody in the public to see as well. But I want you to see that our schools have received capital from the district, but they've also received tremendous investment from their local community. You can see, for instance, Beach, $850,000 from the county, and another $783,000 from the school community. This is just for capital projects. This does not reflect all the other work, quarterback clubs, band boosters, basketball boosters, softball, track, wrestling, everybody else does. These are just capital expenditures. Okay, Gallatin, $850 and $373. Hendersonville, Merrill High, Portland High School, Station Camp, Westmoreland, and White House. Okay? And again, that's available for y'all. We won't tie down on that, so we need to talk about stadiums. Current and upcoming capital projects. It was mentioned earlier about having $22 million in our capital was budgeted for this year. I want to give you a little bit of a breakdown of how that money is allocated. For school capital projects, for HVACs, roofs, flooring, LED lights, all the things that we try to do on an ongoing and rolling basis to update our schools, we have about $6.11 million this year. About $4.3 million in instruction, about $1.85 million for new school buses, about $2.1 million for furniture and furnishings, building construction, $2.94 million, data processing, $750,000, site development, $1.6 million, and safety, $715,000. If you remember, we got $1.25 million from the state, from the governor's budget for safety. We went ahead and put in $715,000 of local capital so we could go ahead and begin doing things like putting window film to make our schools safer. I was in several high schools over the last week, and if you drive by high school now, you'll see the old shops. They used to always be open because it'd be hot in the shop. They now have a security measure across that prevents access into the building. So our schools are already beginning to see some of the results of that work, and I appreciate the Commission's support in helping us move that those local capital projects along with the governor's money. This is a snapshot of that $6.11 million. These are projects that have either been approved or will be recommended shortly to the school board for approval. As you know, we have a lot. We have over 3 million square feet of school space. We have 51 different school locations. And we have a constant rolling need of facilities. Things wear out. And so you'll see a lot of HVAC on there. Portland High School's roof, Station Camp High School's gym roof, and Portland High School's roof are the two biggest needs. Station Camp High School roof will be on and done by Thanksgiving. Portland's roof will be on this month's board agenda for both. But you can see these are the projects that we recommended to the board. If you look on the end, we're going to give $450,000. We have a significant number of capital projects that elementary and middle school principals have recommended that they need in their buildings. And that ranges everything from some small building projects to greenhouses to different repairs in the building, library flooring, paint, different things like that. So we will work on that list to accomplish as many of those priority items as we can. And then $540,000 in high school capital. We're going to give $60,000 to each high school. In the past, we've given $200,000, but we're spending a significant amount. If we can move this $8.8 million, we're spending a significant amount of that money on high school athletic facilities. And so we're going to try to shift, and most of that $60,000 now, it'll be a little different for each high school because some high schools with their previous capital money, they have invested in fine arts. We're going to ask that the majority of this money that goes to the high schools be invested in fine arts. One of the things that we're seeing now is a limitation for kids that are economically disadvantaged being able to do band. And so we want to be able, music instruments are very expensive. We want to be able to provide support for that. Hopefully we'll be able to roll that in the middle school next year as we get caught up on some of our maintenance capital needs. All right. I think there's been a lot of confusion because, until you do this on the education side, it's a different process with all the different state laws and everything that governs how we do a large capital process for the school system. So I want to take just a moment and talk about this. I'm going to show this next slide, and I don't want, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to hold a gun to your head or scare anybody. I'm showing this slide because it's just reality. This is how many days we have. And our options are going to be, let me go ahead and show it. We have 285 days until July 31st from today. Our options, if we don't have the bleachers restored at that point, is what the stage bleachers like we've done at Beach, Hendersonville, and Portland, and White House this year. That'll be a significant expenditure, and it's not a good use of taxpayer money. I hope that we don't have to stage any bleachers. I hope that we'll be able to be on down the road and be able to get a lot of this done, because I just don't think it's a good use of taxpayer money, and it's not the safest. The ones we have at Beach are the nicest stage bleachers you can get, but there's still a lot of limitations. If you've ever been to a Beach game, the kids go crazy. They have to be really careful because these are staged for old people sitting in a race, not high school kids jumping up and down. My apologies to old people. All right, so the process I mentioned already, I discussed already who we had at the first meeting to identify the needs of each school, campus, and community. We wanted those needs to be identified by those closest to the ground. The principals, the ADs, the coaches, the parents, the community supporters that are there every day on campus looking and seeing what we need. And listen, I'm on board. There's plenty of blame for everybody. I also think that there's also needs to be a lot of grace given because I think a lot of previous directors, a lot of previous boards, everybody did the best they could to overcome a significant lift from decades and decades of issues. I have no doubt, I've known Mr. Hyde a long time. I have no doubt that Mr. Hyde would have built great schools if he had been given a $100 million budget. It would have looked phenomenal. I feel confident in that, Mr. Hyde. Yeah, but I'm saying if you had the budget that you wanted. Yeah, you built a lot of schools. All right, bleacher replacement steps. This is what we have to go through in order to get good bids. So demo has already been completed on the visitor side at Beach High School. We've already started in the ones that are condemned, like the aluminum seat tops have been taken off. We're waiting at the end of each football season. It's already been approved by the school board. Those bleachers will be knocked down. And then get to a geotechnical study. For instance, when we did Gallatin High School's visitor side last year, you never know on some of these stadiums, especially the ones that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, when you pull that cement up, only the Lord knows what you will find underneath there. Because they were done historically by people doing the best they could, but not everybody was a mason, or sometimes you just had, and also code inspectors in the 60s and 70s were much more lax on high school facilities than they are now. So for instance, in Gallatin, we had to pull a lot of dirt out, bring in rock, more dirt, compact it, let it sit, have the geotech team come back out and look and roll through the process. We have to survey it. We have to have civil site design. We have to have architectural renderings and design. If we don't do that, along with having our financing secured, no one will bid these projects. Or if you get a bid, it'll be astronomically overpriced because they don't know what they're getting when they dig into the ground. And then it has to come back. Everything that we do, once this money is moved from reserves into our capital and maintenance line, every purchase has to be approved by the school board. It has to be either done through a purchasing contract or a sealed bid that the school board will approve the bid before it goes out, and then it'll come back for them to vote on and approve. What I expect will happen is all the things that are on the list that we're going to walk through in just a second will be put on there with options, right? Like we typically do this on schools. Like you have the vision of the school that you want, but then you say, here's a bid with 6 fewer classrooms. Here's a bid with this, so that if the bids, especially at times when construction costs are variable, you have to accept for the fact, like for instance, We said, a speaker mentioned this earlier, we might be sitting on the brink of a Middle Eastern war breaking out. If a Middle Eastern war breaks out, prices are going to go up. It could affect construction costs. If that gets resolved, construction prices over the last year or so have begun to dip just a little bit, and product disruptions have. So you want some flexibility to either get everything that you want or to get as much as you can for the money you have. What we're really doing is saying this $15.8 million is our budget that the school board, I know, will work hard to get to make the best decisions to benefit all the school communities with that first round of $15 million. All right, so demolition I've already explained, and our demolition company was Z&S Demolition. We received 5 companies bid on the job, and Z&S Demolition won the bid, so they got the contract for $135,120 to do the demolition of our stadiums. The beach visitor side was done separately. Someone asked earlier, I think last meeting, I can't remember who it was, about insurance. So I want to give you an update on where we are on the insurance claim. We submitted the insurance claim on the visitor side of the beach stadium. Right? Insurance claims take a long time to resolve. They are not one-month things. Our insurance company gave us $50,000 as an advance for repairs. Part of that was to cover the rental bleachers on the visitor side. Now, they will depreciate that stadium, the visitor side that fell, but it'll be a while before we know the full amount that they're going to give us, but I will share that total with you as soon as I have that total. All right, geotech. Geotech is testing the soil to make sure that it will stand the weight and that there are other needs that can be identified to be addressed before you put stadium on top of it, bleachers on top of it. Sumner County uses Terracon. Terracon is the industry leader. They have 140 labs and 175 locations nationwide. That is actually geotech work doing there, but other than that, we'll have to have a geotech expert come in to speak to you if you have any geotech questions. All right, civil site design. This identifies and addresses potential problems. It includes items such as permitting, subsurface characteristics, and zoning. We use Reagan Smith now. Reagan Smith has provided land survey and civil engineering services since 1933. Their projects include Tractor Supply Headquarters, Brentwood Police Headquarters, the Fred Thompson U.S. Courthouse, and the I-440 Survey. They have a bunch of others too. They're one of the industry leaders in Nashville. Architectural plans, I think we're familiar with what architects do. Architects not only, they work off a fee, and then they put together the design, and they make sure that for us, they ensure that our project comes in on or under budget, or if there are problems, they bring them to our attention immediately. We work with Katz Binkley. Katz Binkley began operations in 1872 in Tennessee. They've won 31 School of the Year Architectural Design Awards. And these are some of the projects that they've done in Tennessee. They've done almost all of the Wilson County schools, including their central office. They did Liberty Creek High School. They did White House Heritage High School, Franklin County High School, and then you can see some of the other middle and elementary schools that they did. Our architect, Mr. Gary Cromer, received his degree in architecture from UT in 1976, and he's been with Katz Binkley since 1992, 31 years, and most of that time has been in school construction. So, once the planning is completed, the projects will be put out for sealed bid. Just so you have an idea of a timeline, you need 3 to 4 weeks because the contractors have to come out and measure, send their estimators out. There's a lot of work that goes into them being able to give a good bid. And then once it opens, we'll need a little bit of time to make sure they're bonded, they have the proper paperwork, they have the right insurance, that their bid meets all the qualifications of the bid. They're scored, and then we pick, usually the lowest price unless there's some problems with the bid. And then construction, of course, is the actual building. All right, so phase 1, we believe we can get done by July 31st. Okay? Beach High School, I know you've seen this, so I'll run quickly. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask if that's okay with Mr. Brown. But there, I wanted to highlight a couple things as we go through here. So 3,500 seats on the home side at Beach. We will lose the press box when we tear down the home side bleachers because it's anchored on the home side bleachers. It includes, I know that some of the conversations have been about what's really necessary. My concern is that as we do these projects, we don't go out and build really nice bleachers and then turn back over to the booster clubs and the schools and say, now you need to raise $350,000 to $400,000 for bathrooms. It's hard to raise money for bathrooms and dressing rooms and things like that. It's much easier to raise money for things that fans see and can touch. It's hard to do it for things that are underneath the stadium, but those things are necessary. 1,500 visitor bleacher side, including storage. All of these, I appreciate your question, and I went back and I added this, so it's not on the thing that you got from the architect. I added this for this, just to be clear. Everything we build will be ADA accessible. And then the site work. I want to clarify just a little bit. The site work, 1.3 million, it does include, so each high school will lose their current track. When we add ADA compliant bleachers and we're adding a different style of bleacher than what they have currently, if you've seen the beach home bleachers now, they're steep. These will be much easier, not even for folks in wheelchairs, but for people, older people, people with mobility issues. It'll be a lot easier for them, better with handrails and things like that. It takes up more space. So we're going to lose that track that's been around beach. All right, so our thought is that while we have the bulldozers and the skid steers and everything, they can go ahead and do the rough work around where the track's going to go, because it won't be around the football stadium. But then we don't, otherwise we'll have to pay twice to bring all that equipment out. And there's evidently a thing called a mobilization fee that you pay just for the privilege of having a bulldozer and a skid steer and all that stuff out there. So I think we can save some money in the long run if we go ahead. But also, part of that 1.3 million is not just roughing out that track, it's also the site work for the Beach High School Stadium. Okay, Hendersonville High School, much the same. We are hopeful that we can preserve the Hendersonville High School press box. If not, that would be a contingency item we have to look at. But we believe that press box may be able to, because it's new, relatively new, and we believe that we're going to be able to save it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Oh.
The visitor side bleachers, 1,500 ADA, 10 by 18 press box. So you're saying that 1.275 could go down just a little bit on Hendersonville's estimate?
No, sir. We think the press box on the home side.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask Dr. Light a quick question. I don't know if we were saving everything to the end on questions, so we took a tour, met with Mr. Powell and some of his staff.
Yes.
So look, just to kind of see where they were at, and let me just say this first, they were very reasonable. Just for the record, everything that they were asking for, I felt was very reasonable, practical. The one question I have for you is with the restrooms. It was discussed, and they made some really good points that right now they're under the bleachers as we speak. I don't like that as a parent for a safety concern. I have a daughter and a son. So they were talking about relocating those restrooms. Is the plan to put those? What we were looking at is the goalpost. The goalpost.
I'm with you. Okay. As a former high school principal, there's no breath. Yeah. I'm not naive.
I get you. I didn't know if we were saving questions.
Yes, sir.
That did pop up in my mind, and that was a big concern.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I think when you see that price, it's like, you actually save money by building one structure with the concession stand and bathrooms instead of different structures. If you look at a lot of our campuses, we've got a lot of little brick block buildings that are undersized for what they do. Well, we did that because that's what we could do, and maintenance could run out there and put up some brick blocks and run electricity and water. But if you see the Portland bathrooms, you'll know that we're at the end of life on the Portland high school bathrooms. We're probably 10, 15 years beyond it. I mean, it's not even a good Easter story. There's nobody. Yeah. Okay. All right, Portland High School. Let's talk about Portland High School. So coming back with the home side bleachers, 2,000 seats, ADA compliant with the 10 by 24 press box. I had some questions about the LED lighting. I explained this on the next slide, but I'll just go ahead and jump in and explain it here. When we take down the current stadium, we're going to lose one of the lights. There is not enough light if we don't replace that to play night games at that stadium. And you also can't come in and drop one LED and not have the others also be LED. You're going to end up paying, they're going to charge you a lot to come out to put one, and we can go ahead and replace the LED lights. LED stadium lights save significant money. So that's the reason lighting is on there as a need and not just one. Okay. Somebody raised earlier about White House High School. This is probably the only time in the history of my life that someone has said, I presented something where White House was left out. But there's irony. The way that the White House bleachers are, they're built into a hill on the home side. And the concern of the structural engineers, part of it was slid out. She thought that we could lift those up and push it back in. Our maintenance guys, when they went out to look at it before we condemned that section, our maintenance guys went out to look at it, and their concern was that cement structure was built in the 70s by local artisans. And so they put a lot of rebar in it. Because if you need a pound of rebar, you put 10 pounds in, it's guaranteed, which it has. I mean, I will say the part that's slid out has been that way for a long time, but I'm hopeful, I didn't want to do it during football season. We didn't want to do it during football season because we're afraid it's old cement. When you lift it up, there's a good chance it's going to crumble. With the section already being condemned, we didn't want it to look like, it had been shelled or something. But after football season, we'll be able to lift that up and look and get an exact idea of what's going on there. I think I skipped this over Portland, but I think we need to have a serious conversation about building an on-campus stadium at Portland High School. And then, if you didn't know, White House High School Stadium is actually in Robertson County. We own 6 or 7 acres of land in Robertson County, and that's where White House High School Stadium is. It used to be wooded, but they cut all the trees down now because there's an apartment complex coming right behind the visitor side. It's going to be very hard to secure, and I think we have to ask a real question about whether it's a good investment of Sumner County tax dollars to invest that in a stadium in Robertson County that's far removed from the school campus. It's hard to secure. Okay, Gallatin High School. A couple of things here. I know there have been a lot of questions about why a track. I will say, other than the Beach High School bleachers and the other schools that lost bleachers, the Gallatin High School track is the #1 thing I've heard the most about since I've been director of schools. I've heard it at almost every event I've been at. One is a need because Gallatin has a rich track history, and they deserve a functional track, not what they currently have. It is not even close to what we should have at Gallatin High School, and it sits right as the entry point, to the campus. So Mr. Ingram mentioned the front door of the school. The track is literally the front door of Gallatin High School. Another reason to go ahead and do the track now is we're going to have a lot of capital projects to do over the next 2 or 3 years. Right, and we're going to try to stage these in so that we can afford them without raising taxes. Okay? I know, I get the message, we're going to try, we're not going to raise taxes, so what can we do? And the way to address that is to stage these out over several years. All right, we're talking right now about replacing Beach High School Stadium, Hendersonville High School Stadium, and one side of Portland High School Stadium. If something happens and we don't get all those stadiums done, we can very easily go ahead. Gallatin's home side, because of Garrett Brothers railroad iron, gets a couple more years because that iron lasts forever. But we're going to have to replace the Gallatin home side at some point. Our thinking is that what we need to do is stagger in the Gallatin Stadium a little bit later in case we hit some kind of unexpected phenomenon. We've got more places to play football. Otherwise, we would be limited basically to Westmoreland, most of White House, Station Camp, and Liberty Creek. So it makes sense to knock out some of the other projects. This Gallatin track is in huge need. And I would like to go ahead and really consider going ahead and getting it done. Station Camp, there's a couple of things here. The football field has significant irrigation issues. It also has some drainage work that needs to be done. That drainage and irrigation work has to be done before you can put a new track in, because otherwise you're going to replicate the problem we have with the one now, which is the water runs under it and over it, and it erodes. The tracks are somewhat sensitive. We have to be careful to make sure we do it right. The Station Camp track, there's probably, I don't want to offend anybody, but the Station Camp probably, or maybe has the most state champions, or at least they're up there. They have a rich track tradition, and this also is a huge need. Okay, here's some other things. I want to talk about all schools, because all schools participated. And let's talk about Merrill Heights Magnet School for a minute. Merrill Heights Magnet School is in, I think, our second oldest building behind Gallatin High School. It's the old Knox Doss Middle School. it needs a lot of renovation. You know, we started that process, we paved it, which was a huge step in the right direction. There's a lot of other work that needs to be done. I am hopeful, if you look at those projects, we built in an 8% contingency because there's still a lot of unknowns in our projects. I am hopeful that there will be some other things that we can knock out if we get the other bids in and we're comfortable with where we are, to look at some of these other projects that we can address at some of the other schools. Merrill High desperately needs athletic trainer space. We'll try to do that if we have to pull from other sources to try to address their athletic trainer needs. Merrill High has won, I believe, 3 straight tennis state championships, and they have to travel to play tennis. I would love to be able to begin the process of getting tennis courts on campus, and we need to renovate the old gym. Westmoreland High School needs athletic trainer space. Westmoreland is looking, they submitted about $2 million of different athletic field upgrades on campus. Theirs was not necessarily one big project. They would like a track, but they've got a lot of other needs athletically. And you know, I left it in here for phase 1, just want everybody to see. These are things that we can address a little bit down the road, but we don't want to, if you lived on the ridge for most of your life, then there's always a feeling that when push comes to shove, the ridge is going to get cut. And Mr. Rogers, primarily for you, to make sure that it's on there. It may not be today, but it's on there.
It's reality, it's not a feeling.
Yeah, true. Okay, and these were some of the things from the team, and I'll run real quickly because I know we're late in the night, and we've already seen most of these things. You know, Hendersonville's campus is landlocked, so we're going to have to be creative as we look forward down the future. This is not 1 year, 2 years, this is probably 2 to 5 years looking out. I'd rather have the list so we can strategically plan, and when we get the opportunity to do something, we can jump on and do it. You know, tennis courts is going to be a phenomenon around. The tennis is popular with kids. Many cities are getting out of tennis courts. A lot of them are being converted into pickleball courts now. So our kids are traveling farther and farther to play tennis. Station Camp and Westmore. And again, these are long-term projects. And White House. This isn't for tonight, obviously, for phase 1. It's way outside. We are going to have school board is going to have a conversation long-term about field turf. A lot of counties are going to that now. Is the upkeep of grass and have people to take care of it. It's pretty sick. That's not a tonight conversation. All right. I really appreciate y'all's time. I'm trying to do that as quickly as I could and answer all the questions that I heard from the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, I'd like to entertain a motion for discussion of the estimates and urgent needs by Sumner County school system.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Now, I know we might probably need to be asking questions of Director Langford. So I would like to suspend the rules just for commissioners to talk to Director Langford. Now, under this portion, I would like to discuss the need for the wages and the needs versus the wants. From the inspection report on hand that we have from CATS, Morris, and so on. 3 complete stadiums, Beach High School, Hendersonville High School, White House High School, need to be removed or have major structural repairs and half the bleachers there. This firm is the same one that lost the 2011 report of the stadiums. And so, why are we using them?
I mean, they built most of the schools in Middle Tennessee. They're the industry leader in Tennessee for school construction. I mean, look at the schools that they built. And I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, I understand that the 2011 report is a sticky point for many people. But when I saw the bleachers at Beach High School, my first thought was, I don't care what was done in 2011. I got to have a 2023 report. I got to know what's going on right now.
Well, very true. We just need to understand that there were problems back then and they were not addressed.
Well,
what are we looking at now?
Well, I don't think that would be on the architect anyway, because the architect makes recommendations, they do a study, they don't approve the work. I'm sure they would have been, I assure you guys think they would have been happy to rebuild every stadium in Sumner County. But they do they give you a report, and then you have to make decisions based on the report that they give you. It's a consultant, at that point, that's a consulting project.
So by the magnitude of the prices that were attached to the estimates that we saw here, from the same architectural firm, we're looking at basically demolition and replacement. And repair is not even considered in any of these estimates. That's one of the things that these requests are emergence and need to be considered tonight, not anything else in the estimates that were provided, because we need to weigh how much money we've got and do that so that we don't have to worry about that. As I stated, or as you stated, looking at beach, home side at $2 million, $2.5 million. The visitor side at $1.1 million. The home side at Hendersonville, 2.3. The football visitor side at 1.2. Portland at 894,000. And that's it. Okay. Now, White House, as we said, is not even mentioned in this phase 1 estimate. Beach has received about 40% of phase 1 as far as the cost is concerned. Station Camp and Gallatin got added to the estimate, and the stadium is not a need but a want at this point, because the estimates were, the site request was done and said it was not needed at this time. Site work for beach is $1.3 million, and the other high schools are between $200,000 and $300,000. That's total. We're looking at about $8,199,500 for some very nice new stadiums with lots of extras. Structural repair, again, is never mentioned in these estimates. Is there any, we talked about the insurance money, that beach had, you said you had $50,000 and just hadn't got anything from the insurance company. We're just wondering, I've heard that there are going to be, as you presented, 3 phases here, to the tune of about $50 million. We're just wondering where that money is going to come from.
Well, Mr. Brown, I think I can answer one of your other questions about the repairs. I asked when I was with the structural engineer when she was inspecting, because my first thought was, is there something we can do to, if nothing else, salvage these bleachers for the remainder of the year so we don't have to stage? The process that she described to me, and her recommendation was basically, you can't just go in, the way the bleachers work, they distribute weight. So you can't go in between 2 columns, build another one to distribute the weight, because that messes up the distribution. It makes them actually more likely to collapse. The way that she described it to me is you have to go in on each of those columns and build on both, the piers and build both sides, take out the damaged part, rebuild that, and then take these 2 parts off. And I think at the end of the day, you're spending a significant amount of money to basically salvage a 40, 50-year-old stadium. And I think we would, I think the reality is it would be much cheaper in the long run to go ahead and replace these end-of-life cement stadiums and go to galvanized steel and aluminum, because their longevity is significantly longer than cement.
With the transparency that we have on the internet, whenever we look on the school website,
sure.
The amount of reserves budgeted, which is the difference between the budgeted with revenues and the appropriations, is $29.9 million. That's what we see. I heard from, I think it was board member Graham, that it was $90 million. And so if this appropriation is approved, as is the amount of the budgeted fund balance that would be used, would be well over $45 million, with no way of telling how much will actually be used. Can you balance your budget without raising any property taxes?
Sure, yes, we can. Well, let me just explain about the reserves. There's a great presentation that Ms. Brown did last month on board docs, where she walks through what our reserve funds are. So if you look, you see a number, it's over 100 million, but a lot of that is restricted for various purposes, from school nutrition to retirement, to a whole bunch of different things. It brings that number down to 67 million that can actually be touched by the school system. State law requires that you have a 3% reserve, but the comptroller office and actually Sumner County policy recommends 2 months of operating expenses, which is about $56 million. So, 11 million would be right in the ballpark of what the comptroller would recommend, but we feel like, given that we've had another strong economic year, property tax collection, sales tax collection, everything, we'll be back at that. We'll be back at that 2 months operating expense. At the end of this year. I would anticipate unless something bizarre happens. But either way, we're right at that 2 month operating expenses, and it lets us still be very healthy. I was talking to a superintendent from another district today, and they have a 4% reserve. The school system in the county is around 18 to 20, 22%, somewhere in there. So we've got money in case we have emergencies like this to be able to address our needs and make that investment without having to risk a property tax. In terms of multiple phases, Mr. Brown, I think that those are, once we get the needs taken care of, we have to look at what's the next. There will still be some needs in Portland and White House and Gallatin that we would have to address. And then there are a few other things, but the thing there is it gives us time to begin to do the process that I think everybody would have preferred, which is where we can all sit down together and talk and say, ask questions and say, hey, let's get all the communities together. Let's have a conversation about what's most important, because we're talking 2 to 5 year projects, not 6 month projects, 8 month projects.
We're already having issues with paying deputies, EMS, other county employees, teachers. We're looking at the TISA that's going into, as it said, raise up to $50,000 for an entry-level teacher. I wish I had that money when I was teaching. We're going to lose then probably other counties. I know we have a lot of threats there as far as Arlington County was concerned, and now Gallatin is supposed to have much better benefits. But that's what we're worried about. It's trying to balance all these glass balls here, because we've got all the other county agencies that we're trying to do without giving up what we promised that we would not raise any taxes. So we're trying to keep within that.
And Mr. Brown, what we're trying to do this year, unlike other years, is we're trying to do our compensation to the Sherwood School Board in January, because the person I have the most respect for, well, not a lot of respect for a lot of people in the room, but Mr. Shumpton has to do the budget committee. It's the most thankless job in the commission. And I want to try to be able to give him what we're thinking. What does it cost to get to 50,000? What do we need to do with our classified employees? Because we're all, everybody's feeling upward pressure. And it's a good thing for our employees. And we want to be able to pay and take care of them. We're going to try to get way ahead of the curve on that and do that earlier than we've ever done. Because we know y'all need that data and information as we look for what we can do down the road.
And nobody wants to hear that they can have their project or anything like that, but we are trying to reduce the debt that we have to get us back into black. It's going to be ways down the road, but we're trying to do that.
And I think, Mr. Brown, my concern would be on reserves, and I'm hesitant to look at using reserves for salaries, because reserves are one-time money, not recurring. So we try to balance that out of our recurring money.
As far as, the budgeted regular capital outlay, I've got a total, now this is just for construction improvements, site development, other construction, capital outlay, things like that, $7.837 million. And this is definitely enough to get started now. If there's any of that money that needs to be moved, just bring those budget requests. If it's been spent, we would like to see how it's been spent. because we would like to replenish your budget as we go along, but we like to see where this money is going. I will pass the request to the budget committee when I see where that money has gone to.
And this is, out of that we think there's about 6.11 million that we can touch right now. I'm hopeful that as we get done with our 2 new school projects, that will free up some money, but, for instance, we've got about, you don't buy technology for new schools on the front end of the job because it takes 2 years, you're outdated, you buy the technology on the back end. We're about to order the technology this month, it'll be on the school board agenda for Tuesday. So this is about, so these are the highest needs that our maintenance and principals have got together to talk about. These are our highest needs right now. So these will be, so if we talk about dipping into that for stadium projects, these would be the areas that we have to pull from.
Now, I noticed that you do have, HVAC and all that kind of stuff over there. That now opens up the other side, which is the 22 billion that you have, that capital outlay, which is on page 32.
This is out of the 22 million.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So 6 million out of 22 billion.
Right, and then that's how that, the rest of that, most of that, that's 20.4 million, there's 22 million in that line, but there are a lot of small things, like for instance, special ed has some capital money, safe schools has some capital, there's some different things in there that aren't reflected in that because they're smaller amounts. I can get you that detailed list, but of the money that we can, without moving things, like, we try to stay on top of school buses so we don't, some school districts end up having about 10 school buses in a year. School buses are going up in cost. We only replace them when they're at the end of life, unless there's an accident or something. And we try to buy 4 or 5 a year instead of having to not buy any and then having to buy 10 or 12 in 1 year and come up with $5 or $6 million. So our fleet's in really good shape, so I think we're really safe there in the long run. Furniture and furnishings is one that I wouldn't touch if you forced me to, because, when we did these rounds, we learned a lot of these renovations, but when we did these renovations, for instance, Beach High School and White House High School were the first 2 renovations, right? We didn't get new furniture, and we're still playing catch up. Some of the desks we had at White House, I sat in when I was a student, I'm old. We learned in future projects, we bid out the furniture too, but we still have, we're rotating a lot of schools to try to update the furniture. So, I think there's possibly some money in that building construction and site development, but I can't really say right now until we get Liberty Creek Middle and White House Intermediate a little closer to the finish line, so we know exactly what's going on there. And that safety money is already committed.
Well, I was in Chattanooga along with Commissioner Bergdorf and Boyd, meeting our state mandated continuing education, and I will admit it was on our own dime. We did not get anything paid for by the county. There were many vendors that the government officials were encouraged to interact with as far as government and things like that for the county's benefit. I had the architectural report with me, and I shopped the thing around and found an engineering firm in Nashville. The owner of it is a resident of Cajun Den, and just wanted to get a second opinion. And so Collier Engineering on Rolls Road in Nashville is owned by Cajun Den resident Chad Collier. I asked him to look at the report, which he did, along with the estimates forwarded by you. He thought that he might be able to give us a better offer. And I asked for a letter of intent, and he sent that to me. And he asked for a fee of $5,000. However, he said that after reading the report and doing his own inspection, if he agrees with the report, that we will charge. I just wanted to ask you if Mr. Collier would be able to have access to properties to do this site survey inspection.
I probably need to talk to the school board about that. Personally, I don't really have our school campuses are open at much problem getting access, but I don't really have a problem with it. Never done that before.
I just want to read the letter here. At your request, I have reviewed the structural assessment dated 8/22/2023. That was performed by Sumner County Schools after the failure of bleachers at Beach High School. I've also reviewed the photographs attached to the report and the estimate of the cost you provided. It appears to me that many of the bleachers in the report are similar in nature, consisting of CMU block support structures that have suffered from a lack of adequate maintenance for many years. The report also mentions many locations with adequate maintenance and, in some cases, upgrades to support structures associated with bleacher systems. Many of these locations could be repaired, but no cost estimates that consider repair and maintenance to the existing structures was provided. I've owned Collier Engineering since 2003, and we have extensive experience with local governments in Tennessee, including multiple schools and parks, departments in Davis and Williamson and Horry counties, as well as cities of Franklin and Mount Juliet. We collectively work with over 70 local government agencies currently in our school or state, and we understand the financial impact of an unknown expenditure like this and how it would bring hardship to any agency. Much of the work we do for all our clients, and specifically the school and park clients, is assisting with maintenance and rehabilitation projects, much like the one we have in this case. Being a Sumner County resident myself, I would like to request the opportunity to provide a peer review of the existing structural report. We would do a site visit to the locations in question and formulate the possibility of doing repairs and the required maintenance to the existing bleacher systems. I would also like to discuss with the engineer who provided the report their findings and then provide some cost comparisons to see if repairing the existing facility would not significantly reduce financial impact to Sumner County. While providing for a significant service life moving forward, for these services I would propose a cost of $5,000 billed hourly with the associated staff assigned to the project. Do you have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I think we would need to talk to, I need to talk to him, because I mean, Rady Smith, our engineering firm, is an industry leader in this area. And they do a lot of high volume projects, and I'd be happy to talk to him. We'd always like to talk to Sumner County residents whenever we can.
Well, the thing that bothers me about demolition and replacement is the time frame. Right now, in the present economy of Bidenomics, we're looking at long lead times. The supply chain has been disrupted numerous times, and concrete, as well as steel especially, and then aluminum, it is long lead times. And I do not understand how in the world we might get these things done and, ready for the next season if we've been demolished. And this is one reason why I look at the fact that repair being a much better option, because go in, jack up the stadium, replace those gears, and be done with it primarily. Now, yes, you might do a lot of alignment, a lot of sealing, which was not done. That was one of the things that kept being brought out in this report right here, was the concrete wasn't sealed, joints weren't sealed, therefore allowed a lot of water to leach down into the piers of these stadiums, thus causing foundation failures.
My concern is the structural engineer said that most of our cement structures are at the end of their life. My concern is that we would spend, I have no idea what the repair process would be, but let's say it's $8 million or $7 million, say it's half of what the $15 million to replace. I think we're still going to have 30, 40, 50-year parts. We can't use the stadiums as they are. There's also no guarantee that we get all the stuff to repair them in the same timeline, because there's also the real risk of finding other issues. I'm not even sure the feasibility of jacking up a stadium. I know the structural engineer's recommendation to me was just that she said repeatedly was many of these stadiums are just at the end of their life, and that would be my concern.
Well, I know that you seem to be sold on the steel and aluminum aspect of this. caught down in Metro, most of those bleachers down there are concrete steel, concrete reinforcements with rebar steel. And a lot of those have lasted for many, many years.
Although I will add, after our spell, all of a sudden, Glen Cliff, I think Overton closed, and a couple others. I was in Gadsden, Alabama a few weeks ago, and I'm a now connoisseur of bleachers, and I walked under there, so I'm standing on the sideline.
Like I said, Glen Cliff was much I would move in the commission agenda on Monday night to add Mr. Collier's $5,000 fee in case it is needed, so that we can get other results, a second opinion. He will be at the commission meeting Monday night. Should there be any questions from any commissioners? Again, if that is the result, I urge the Board of Education to look at these different findings and hopefully come to some different conclusions rather than it being a moot point. As the Board of Education uses these funds within the project, please give this committee an accounting of the funds expended, and we will replenish it as needed. We as a committee want our community to have safe, functional facilities, but we just cannot afford the expense of it. Just cannot do that right now. We're trying to, as I said, alleviate ourselves of the debt that has incurred. Any other commissioners have questions?
I ran into a young man a few minutes ago when I went to the restroom, and he said, "So you're Merrill Hyde?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I thought the sign up there was for decorations. I thought you were dated." I was feeling pretty good at that point. And I also want to make a correction. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just for the record, that Portland High School was the first high school in Sumner County. And I see the Portland people shaking their head, not Calvin High School. Let me say, Scott, Dr. Lane, that, and a few people know that Dr. Langford was a student of mine. He looks older than I do.
It's probably there.
He was a student at high school, and the principal at Nashville High School was a student of mine in Gallatin. I was the principal here at Dr. Sawyer. I did not know, before I say anything, I did not know that Merrill Hyde was being involved in this thought of construction, and I did not talk to anyone at the Board of Education. When I became principal of Beach High School and we opened the beach in 1980, the construction of those bleachers at Beach High School was a great community back as a 5-year loan from the county that we paid back in 3 years. But saying all of that, I will say this, having been on both sides of this fence here, and I've been there and I've been here. I'm inclined, I really think that this thing happened in a lot of different ways, but I'm inclined to believe safety-wise and the best interest. I think since the Board of Education voted to move this money, that we're not going to have much of we don't have much option but to approve this. And I'll tell you why. I've been there on that side. If they so choose to do it, it'll be done now or later. Because the only reason that it's here before this committee is one reason, and that is to move it in the middle of the year out of reserve to the regular account. And when budget comes, their budget will have that in it, and we cannot change the Board of Education. But with that being said, I hope that this, so I'm inclined to favor the movement of the money. But I hope that this never happens again the way it's happened. The county commission and the Board of Education must work together to see that good things are accomplished by the school system. And it was very, very unfair, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, that people such as Mr. Manswell and individual members of the Board of Education were called out at a football game. Thank goodness I was not at that. I used to go to every Hendersonville home football game. I had to be gone to officiate a wedding that night, and I was not there. I would have been terribly embarrassed for that event to have occurred. So I hope that we've all learned a great deal from this. It is better to come, argue, debate, and try to secure things in a different way other than that. Because all of these people that were called out individually are hardworking people that give a lot of themselves to the county. And so I would just say again, I hope that we've learned a great deal from this. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I've got several questions. If I could ask the Director of Schools, being on the north end of the county, I'm trying to do my due diligence to make sure we're not getting some bleachers that's ended up from a college doing a remodel 4 or 5 years later. So if I could direct my questions to the Director of Schools, so we got it on record, at least somebody will hear my voice. Hopefully it doesn't fall on deaf ears. So my questions are, I see several phases, and understand there are several phases of this. I guess my first one is, and I'm not trying to micromanage the school board, it's just general questions, so I'll stop on that and just get to the point. What happened to the aluminum that was taken off the concrete that's condemned at this time in Portland?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I can find out. Usually if it's a government item, it's surplus, but I don't really know when it's a demo. But I can find out.
Did we demo it or did another company demo it?
It's a company that demoed it. And I'd have to look at their contract, Mr. Rogers, to see exactly. It's probably contained in the contract.
Okay. And these aren't gotcha questions, Dr. Lincoln. These are just questions.
No. I've never thought of that before, but I'm trying to.
And the reason why I asked that question to substantiate it is because this was football citizens quarterback clubs that put those there. So they're concerned of was it recycled and will they ever see it again, or was it scalded by the end of it?
It won't be back on Portland High School bleachers.
Right. But they're just saying if they could use that recycled wood, save some money or something, I guess, was the question of that. once we,
I believe a lot of times when you have a demolition contract, and I'll have to double check to see, is that they're taking care of disposing of the materials, so they're probably giving us a lower cost.
because they're in the back. And that's,
I think that's probably, but I'll double check.
I assume that, I don't have to misquote anybody. And then my other thing is should we, hopefully, make these, repairs to the field, and then we go over and look at the high school and College Street, and look at making that, new stadium there. What happens to the stadium at Portland East Elementary?
I think,
Sorry.
there's a lot of conversation now with the city of Portland and the Portland community. My idea would be is that we could use it for middle school games, whatever we call junior pro football now, FCA, 550. I mean, because, you know, what's happening is we're picking up so many different sports between flag football, lacrosse, you know, third grade football, fourth grade football, fifth grade football, sixth grade footballs, you know, JV, middle school, JV, you know, we could even play out, I've talked several, like, you know, maybe we continue to do the Portland White House game in the old stadium just for the historic. We would have that stadium for a bit, but, you know, I think that for me, when I look at the Portland Stadium, it's important to preserve that as a historic part of Portland. It's right in the middle of Portland.
Sure.
And there's still a lot of use for that, even though at the same time we address the future needs of a growing area like Portland with the stadiums. The thing is, it's like, even if we wanted to build it on site, it would be really hard to build the kind of stadium that Portland needs because that footprint is really tight. And, you know, we've absolutely got to do the bathrooms. We got to do the lighting, and then we got to get the home side bleachers, but we're actually coming back with fewer bleachers than we will at the new stadium. We'll save a little money on that to get us through a year or two, give us time. I think with Portland White House, we can't build, you know, go back to Mr. Brown's point earlier, we can't build 2 or 3 stadiums in the same year multiple times. So we'll have to stagger that out over time. And what'll happen for a couple of us, it'll give us a year or two so we can stagger those out so that we're not having to build, hopefully not having to build 2 stadiums at once.
So then my question is, and it may be a premature question, who would maintain the existing stadium? And then obviously we would probably maintain the turf. Let's just be real. The turf at the new stadium, that's why we want to keep everything in Portland East middle, is to preserve the turf that's going to be at the new field. Who would maintain those 2 fields? Would it be a partnership with the city, or would it be strictly school board or quarterback?
So I think it'd be a couple of things. Like, I think by the time we build the Portland Stadium, we'll be looking at field turf, most likely, because I think it's a long-term investment, it's way more cost-effective than grass. But I think, like, it's early. I can see, and this is just me speaking, no conversation.
Sure.
So, I mean, what I would love is a community-county partnership. I've already had this question, like, it's too much to put on middle school coaches to cut and maintain that field.
Right.
So, I mean, we could talk about maintenance with our grass cutters, we could talk about, you know, community work, but I mean, we can work out, to me, that's a small detail that we can figure out as we get closer to the time, just to honor the city of Portland.
Sure, it's a small detail, but it's a lot of money that goes behind it and makes the effort.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Portland, this is painful for a White House guy to say, but the community works so well together.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. What mouthwash down myself about this, but I mean, the city of Portland, such a strong community. I feel like we can get a partnership.
Sure.
Obviously, the biggest thing is the money, but, you know, we found out years ago that it's way cheaper for us to run our own mowing than it is to contract it out.
Right.
Because what we found when we did contract it out is they didn't show up half the time. I mean, it's at the scale that we have to run with all the different sites and acres. So we've got mowers and crews and things like that. So part of it is just shifting. Plus, you know, like we're not, I mean, I think we can address that at the county side, you know, talk to the city. I'm not going to put anything else on the city without a conversation. So I know Mayor Callis will appreciate that. But yeah, that's a conversation Mr. Rogers forced to have.
Sure. And then those bathrooms, just so everybody knows, because I've had several people say, good grief, they're paying more for bathrooms than they did in my house. Of course, that was years ago now. What's the intent and the cost there? Do we have a scope for that $300,000 bathroom?
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done.
That's a messy situation.
Literally. Yeah, good point. You know, like, there's a lot of structural work to be done under that. It may come in cheaper once we bid it, but that's going to be one that somebody's going to go out and look at that before they bid it to see And so we're probably a little high on that one, but we also may not be high enough because that's a 60-year-old stadium that's had a lot of hands doing different piping and different things like that.
Where are we going to tie that back into? To the school down the hill?
Sewer. They've actually got it connected to the sewer now.
Okay, I thought it was on the septic.
No, it was. It's now.
Okay.
It's now connected to the sewer. But what we're going to do is we're going to completely tear out that old septic. The septic tank now is being used as a holding thing to empty into the sewer. But when we redo this, we're going to get rid of that old giant septic tank.
Sure.
And the grass has grown really well right there for a long time in Portland. But we're going to completely remove that.
Who made that transfer from septic to
Our maintenance.
Okay. Thank you.
It's working? Okay. So I'm going to try to get through a lot of this as quickly as I can. But, there's some things here, and some of this is just to really send a message to the citizens. And I'm going to be totally transparent up front with everybody here. What I was looking for from the very start of this process. And there's no thing I told them, can't be finger pointing at this guy, that person, that was just, So what happened October 2nd, we didn't have the information in front of us. And I just want to let you know, on the record, that was not a criticism of anybody on the school board, yourself. And as a matter of fact, just to be clear for the public too, is, I had, done an interview with News 2 on this topic, and we had discussed things. She said, "What do you guys, doing an interview? What do you need, from Dr. Langford and the school board?" I said, what the citizens I'm talking to generally want just some estimates, and I wanted to be clear with a lot of citizens that I talked to that look, estimates are just that, they're estimates. I said, so to be fair, if they bid a project at a certain dollar amount, be aware that, his estimates may be way over what he presents to us, just to cover ourselves. Being in the industry of inspecting buildings and homes, when I was doing that before I stopped doing that in January, someone called, this is all just to try to give the public some perspective here on how estimates are done. They might mention to me, just at a meeting, hey, what would it cost to do this building, trade it for mold and stuff? We give them a ballpark, but I would always give them the high end of that. And you'll see where I'm getting with this in a minute. But I was clear with them on Wednesday that we needed the scope of work, the estimates, for the purpose of giving the taxpayers that I represent and everybody just information. Part of my campaign when I ran was to give the public information. All that said is, look, at the end of the day, I'm just going to be brutally honest with everybody here. They're going to, this goes back to Mr. Hyde too, the school board ultimately is going to make the decision on how this is going to be done, how it's going to be prioritized, what's going to be done. That's just facts right there. No matter what, I can sit here and make my opinions and recommendations here to you as a taxpayer as well as they can, but ultimately, let's just be realistic here. That's who's going to make the decision whether we transfer money or not. I just want people to know that's reality. Worth mentioning, myself and one of the other commissioners back on, I think it was around October 18th, it was a Wednesday night, we visited the beach campus. And I just want to let you know, I did have an invitation from another lady to attend the meeting. I apologize. My son and I get maybe 1 or 2 days a week to spend with father-son, and we just had a commitment that night, or I would have gladly been there. But worth mentioning is I met with the principal and the staff, as the other commissioners had done. We discussed things like earlier I mentioned my concern as a parent with the restrooms. I don't like where it's at. So all that saying, they were very reasonable. I felt very practical. We wanted a press box, bleachers, and these are just some examples, restrooms, etc. And at the end of the meeting, we concluded as a group that the total estimate, and we're just shooting off the hip here, would be approximately, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, as a group, it would be approximately $4 to $6 million for that campus. I mean, to be fair, we're looking at each at 6.25, almost 6.25 on the paperwork. I'd say we're pretty close. All that said, all I'm hopeful for, Dr. Langford and the school board, is like I said, there's no question, bleachers need to be done. You'll never hear me argue with you on it, and I don't even like to use the word argue or just dispute. It's just, what I would like to see is a commitment from the school board and yourself, if it's not to ask too much, and this is not a gotcha, look, I'm not here to try to cut you off the knees or anybody, but when you look, at least look at the cost-saving, effective measures like repair versus replacement, where it should, I understand some things, repair may not be possible. That's just, sometimes, with roofs and stuff like that, just as an example, it's not possible. Would you commit to us to get multiple bids? Or make the effort to at least get multiple bids out there for these projects? Or?
Well, first I'm going to say...
maybe you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think I can quickly, I agree with you completely on estimates. I just denied on October 2nd, it was still early enough, I don't want to throw a number out there, because as I'm looking at all those projects, we've got a lot of projects that are really needs for the schools. I'm always hesitant because I'll give you an example. I got a little fired up about it one day, and I was talking to a group from Merrill High, and I mentioned how they should have tennis courts, and a student contacted me. She said, "I'm so excited we're getting tennis courts." There's no worse feeling. There's no worse feeling than promising something for my kids because they have 4 years in high school, and I want to make sure that my numbers are accurate enough where we're close to that 15 million mark. So I don't want to tell a school or a community or something that's passionate about their students, their sports and everything else, that we're going to do something and not be able to do it. But yeah, I 100% want to give y'all all the information. In terms of the bid process, what we'll do is usually what we do, like if we're doing a school, let's say when we were doing Liberty Creek Middle and White House Intermediate, we put a bid out there, and it was you could bid to do both schools completely. You can choose to bid on one or the other, and then there were alternate things in there, like extra classrooms, just some things that you might want, just to throw it out there to see what you can get. And then what happens is we open all those bids. So probably what we would do now, I'm not the bid expert, the architect will work with our bidding expert to get all that together. But what I would expect is you can bid on all the projects, or you can bid on them individually, and then there will be alternates in those so that if these bids come in at 17 million, obviously we're going to have to say we're going to make some decisions about what we cut because we're only going to spend 15 million. And that would work with the school board. I'll have to do to prioritize what those things are. But what we want to do is and what we hope for, we always hope for, for instance on demolition we got 5 bids. There was a time back during COVID where you were lucky if you got 1 bid. Right now the market is kind of, and these are small enough projects. Sometimes you get, if you're building a school, there are only a handful of contractors that have the ability to bid because they have to have so much debt to be bonded at such a high level. It's hard to bid on a high school because you're roughly now, every high school that's built now will be $100 million or higher. And that's a significant investment for a company. Elementary schools, you get more bids because they're roughly, say, 15 to 25 to 30 million. And you get more bids on them. So I would expect on these stadium projects, we should get, I would hope, 3 to 5 bids. And then we have to, I don't know who's going to make that sound. It's me. Yeah, we always want the most bids possible. That's where we get the most bang for our buck for taxpayers.
Yeah, thank you for answering my questions. The issue of tracks, and this is I'm bringing this to the meeting last minute. I have a job where I serve, I go around, work for myself now, so I service some retail locations, and some of them are close to Station Camp High School, and some are close to the Gallatin campus. And the kids working there in retail, the subject comes up, hey, when you're interested in sports, etc. And the issue of tracks did come up, and they did feel that they were in poor condition. So, I try, when I look at something, I try to get consensus. I don't try to get it all the time from, I don't want to call it politically interest groups or people like that. I try to go outside and scope it out and go to some neighbors in my district that are not, they're connected to the community, but they're not in this finger pointing thing going on on Facebook and all this. So, the tracks from the feedback I'm getting, they seem like that would be a need for them. So finally, if you feel like the project is going to, and I think you answered this, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. your goal is the $15.678 million. If you guys feel like it's going to creep above, is that at that point does the school board say, hey, look, looks like we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with that dollar amount? Do you you pull back and say, what can we just put off to the following year if possible?
Yes, sir, I've looked at the 15 million as our budget. Now if it comes in, because 800,000 of this 15.8 will go back in to replenish our maintenance money that we spent to get the bleacher staged and the demo of the visitor side. That's the replenished money that we pulled out of our maintenance lines. So about 15 million. Now, I mean, if we could get everything that's on that list for 15.2 or 50.3, we're probably going to do that, and we'll find a way to cover that $200,000 or $300,000. But if it comes in, I think what would happen is, let's say it comes in at 21 million, and we have 15 million, we're going to say, these bids are crazy, we're going to throw them out and start over, or we might keep some, and that's why you bid each job individually. Because at that point, we might very realistically have to say, we're going to do these projects first, and we're going to have to wait until prices go down and we have a little bit more money. So, yeah, the school board will ultimately, if it's over that $15 million budget, the school board would have to make decisions on what to prioritize. And we would try to involve y'all in community, and if we go over and it becomes a decision having to cut something, I'm sure the community will be involved. They'll share with us what
That's something important to the committee, right? I know you mentioned that at one time that you share every the information once you get it.
I'm happy to report whatever y'all would like. Like Mr. Brown mentioned capital spending. I can, historically what we sent to the education committee is just like a budget amendment that needs to be approved. But I'm happy to give y'all an update on what we're doing capital-wise. I mean, it's all on our school board docs, but I'm happy to share with y'all what we're doing capital-wise or whatever else. And I can just, when I come over, I can share with you, where we are in the process. Like, we just finished demo, now we're doing geotech, now we're doing this. When we get, the fun part of this project is always when you get the architectural renderings, because then you can start to visualize. It's going to be exciting to see some of these stadiums, across the county that haven't been in good shape for a while, to see them match the fervor and the spirit of the local community. So yeah, I'm happy to do that.
I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Dr. Langford, for being here. One more time, Ms. Carey.
Sorry, Commissioner. All right. Thank you for being here on a Friday night. I know we all have better things to do, and been good discussion. Just a couple of comments as I listened to everyone speak, and just for me, I'm not okay with fixing one or a couple of these, but not including all of these schools. As a graduate of Gallatin High School, I've watched the community rally around just like Beach and Hendersonville and other communities have. One thing that I believe Jay pointed out, the Gallatin side, 2024, they recommend that those be replaced by then. With this information, when this kind of information gets out there, we're opening ourselves up to lawsuits if we don't do our due diligence and at least look at or think about what would have happened that morning if that was a Friday night and we played or beach was playing. We would have spent well over $15 million in lawsuits for those victims. Number one, because of our neglect and not having those things worked on and inspected over the years and decades. And then secondly, and Coyle, I had a motion I was going to make, but if you were the key, okay. I would like at this time, it is getting late, but I would like to make a motion that with this scope of work that you provided, that we move this 15.8 million over for phase one for this scope of work for these schools and this project. Second.
We have a motion on the floor to move the 15.8 million. All those.
Would we be able to add an amendment to that?
Well,
to make recommendations based on the information, and at least give them Saturday and Sunday just to digest. I'm not saying not move it. What I'm trying to get at is, move it. So we want to get it from here to the next step, but maybe move it with, based on their recommendations and, information that they have. At least Mr. Lawler would be at that meeting, and he could just maybe ease some of the concerns maybe that some of the budget members might have as far as the money. Like I said, the school board is ultimately going to choose this, and I'm not trying to muddy the waters here. Can we just move it with, without the doubt, move it, let them make the recommendations, and if they agree, Commissioner Sullivan on the dollar amount, then so let's.
Well, first of all, close the meeting back up to just the floor here. I'm not in favor of giving the whole 15 million. I would like, as I said, to move this incrementally as we see receipts. And this is one of the reasons why I would like to take it to the budget committee. As we see progress being made, we just replenish the capital outlays budget as far as that's concerned. And that's what I'm going to propose. We'll take a vote on this and see where it goes. And we'll go with that. Anybody else want to start?
Mr. Chairman, I thought due respect, sir, I think that we need to look at this through the lens just like I do in health and emergency services. I think the purpose of this committee is to verify that there is or is not a need, and then it's for us to take that conceptual idea to the budget committee and allow the budget committee to make their adjustments in funding, and then from the budget committee it goes to the floor, full county commission floor, and then that way we get picked apart there again. I think with us trying to make recommendations that we only send budget receipts and we only do budget transfers and we treat this as a reimbursement grant, if you will, I think that's wrong for this committee. And again, I respectfully say this, I think that we need to take the concept of this committee that we have the idea that there's a need, our need needs to be going to the budget committee and allow the budget committee to do their part, and then we'll bring it to the full commission floor on Monday. I think we would be outside our purview to pick it apart at this level and ask for a reimbursement grant. Thank you.
For clarification, that's what my motion was to send this on the budget.
Well, I mean, what Commissioner Sullivan was saying, in all fairness, if there is any issues or concerns with his motion. I mean, if there's any concerns or issues with his motion moving forward to budget on Monday, then we can have that discussion Monday. I mean, in other words, just basically what I'm hearing him saying is all he's doing is wanting to move it to the second level, or 3 levels: education, budget, and full commission. So let's get it to the budget on Monday and let's hash it out. Our concerns, if there are any, because that's all he's doing is just moving it right at this point. I know what you're saying, it's kind of, to Commissioner Rogers' comments too, I see where he's going, and I understand that maybe that conversation takes place Monday at the budget level. At least when you move it tonight, give citizens some kind of, not full closure, but we're a third there and not moving it to budget and discussing it Monday. That's my position on it.
Point of order, Chair. We have a motion and a second on the floor. We need to take a motion.
Yes. The other one.
I don't think this can go up without a recommendation. The whole purpose of this committee is to provide a recommendation. So if you're going to do a motion to move it to budget, that's fine, but it's going to need a recommendation from this committee. It's going to have to be included in the motion.
Okay, so what to do with
What's your recommendation for the budget movement of this to their committee?
special call budget meeting for them to consider the scope of work in phase one of the athletic facilities that Dr. Leonard has shared with us tonight.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I think that's where we're at as a committee. That's really all we can do. Just like I said, with Health and Emergency Services, we take the conceptual idea that there's an issue, we send it to budget board, whichever committee needs to line.
Okay, so amended your motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, before everyone leaves, I have asked the mayor to call a special meeting